Hello world! I am Curtis Simpson, and this is Objective Typography News. I have my notes here. Today is Sunday, August 23rd, 2026, and per usual, I have plenty of typography news to get into for you today. When I say plenty, I mean a plenty this week. I have 4 featured stories for you. One from FontFridge, might sound like a new name, it's not. Schrifteria, Foundry, Brutal Types, and Font Radar. 6 upcoming or updated fonts. These are going to be quick, but I still think they're worth touching on briefly to put them on your radar. We've got WiseType, Simple Bits, James Plattner, Spoke, British Standard Type, and Approximate Type. Then we've got 8 full new releases here. 2 of these are already available on Adobe fonts, so I'll point those out when we get there. 8 new releases. We've got CocijoType, Latinotype, Bleifrei type, a lot of type. Type Colony, Dalton Maag, Darden Studio, and Lettermatic. Then we've got 4 articles and 1 video to send you off with. 4 articles. We've got Archive of Living Type, Type Network, Pixel Ambrecht, and the Type Founders. And 1 new YouTube channel to go check out. So like I said, plenty of stuff going on this week. Today's episode is sponsored by FontBase once again. And also, I want to give a special shout out. I haven't really talked much about the membership stuff on the channel, but 6 of you have already managed to become channel members. So in order of subscriptions, Evie Kramer, K8, Jim Girth, Chris Kennedy, Onji Studio, and our first regular tier member, Mark Johnson. Thank you guys so much. I'll talk about member stuff at some point, but I was trying to build up a little bit of a catalog. Some of you have already joined. I appreciate you. Okay, yeah, let's just go ahead and get into it. Featured stories. I'm gonna switch my screen every week. It seems like I forget how to do this. Let's see what we've got first. FontFridge. Okay. I'm going to get a drink of water, change to the other screen, and here we go. This probably looks very familiar. FontFridge was previously known as FontColle, which is not actually the way to say it, but I actually never learned the right way. Even though the developer Chingru, hopefully I'm saying that right, left a comment, or maybe I mentioned, we had a conversation somewhere, and they told me how the correct way to say it. I left a comment on the video where I talked about them, the episode where I talked about FontColle, but now it's called FontFridge, which is much easier to remember, much easier to pronounce, and you can get that at font.chingru.com. Yeah, other than that though, more than just a name change, but if you hear me talk about FontFridge in the future, other than the name change, this is already being updated. So when I first talked about FontFridge, we'll call it that by now. It is a very enhanced version of Google Fonts, way to search and filter Google Fonts. I won't go into that again because I think I talked about it like 10 or 12 minutes last time. But I was pretty excited about this, and it's great to see that even less than 2 weeks later, maybe 1 week later, it's already seeing significant updates and changes and stuff. So that's really cool. Check that out. Link in the description, as is everything else. The only thing in the description that's going to be sponsored is FontBase. Everything else is just there for your convenience. I might actually be missing a couple of links in the description because I snuck in a couple of stories at the last minute today, and I added the description, I think, yesterday or Friday. So I'll add those afterwards. Don't worry about that. Second story today is coming from Schrifteria Foundry. They sent out this newsletter this week, and I linked this in the description. I don't know if it's going to be tied to me. Probably you're going to click on it. It's going to say, "Hi, Curtis." But Schrifteria Foundry is, I guess I could open up their webpage at the same time. I didn't link that, I don't think. Whoops. But you can get to it from the email newsletter. They are increasing their prices by 20% on September 1st. And they are also adding, non-perpetual, they're adding like annual renewal licenses. So raising the prices 20%, adding annual renewals. They say you can still purchase typefaces and license at the current rate. So I don't think we're going to see anything actually on the website right now, but I can show you a few of the typefaces. Schrifteria, I believe they're in Canada, even though Schrifteria sounds very German, but I do believe they're in Canada. Maybe I'm wrong though. I think the founder's in Canada now, even though I think that she wasn't born there. Anyway, doesn't matter. This Foundry, wherever they are located, I apologize, Schrifteria, I believe they're in Montreal, Canada. They're raising the prices. Okay, that's the factual part of it. That's the objective part. Let me give you my subjective take on this real quick, and then I'll steelman their marketing here. This kind of marketing never ever sits well with me. One, I don't like FOMO stuff. If somebody's trying to FOMO me into a sale, I assume that it's not actually worth it. If someone's like, I understand early bird pricing and stuff like that, but if someone's like, hey, we're going to change our prices and it's going to cost you a lot more soon, then it's like, oh no, should I buy right now? The answer is almost always no, because if you weren't going to buy it, and if you buy something on sale that you were not previously planning to buy, you're not saving money. That's just a general life rule. Free one for you. But also, this just leaves a bad taste in people's mouths, in my opinion. Maybe you're different. Maybe you don't think so. But telling people that you're raising the prices 20% seems like, ugh, yuck. Telling people you're adding annual renewal licenses, yuck. So I don't, and then also tack that FOMO on top of that. You've got 8 days to get the current pricing. That just doesn't seem like good marketing to me. But to steelman their side of this, to counter my own argument here, they could have easily just done this without telling anyone. They could have just been like, we're going to raise the prices, not tell anyone, and then they'll cost more and you'll have annual renewals. I do believe perpetual is still going to exist, but sometimes those things get squeezed in and one gets squeezed out. I don't know if that's going to happen. That's entirely just speculation based on historical and shitification. But yeah, so to steelman this, they could have just done this without telling anyone, and no one would know to be annoyed by this. This is pretty cool though. Look at that. As I move the mouse over, the color changes. So I'm a fan of the typefaces, not a fan of this marketing, but thanks for giving us the heads up. It does kind of not sit great with me, but I do want foundries to get paid. And if they're going to raise the prices, you might as well get to know that there is one last chance to get it at the normal price. So it is what it is. That's that's how it works. Everything gets more expensive, and hopefully everyone earns more money so they can pay for these more expensive things. Whether those happen at the same rate, not for everybody. Next up, we have a story from Brutal Types. I often talk about Brutal Types in terms of their revivals and their historical preservation, and I'm a big fan of what Ramiro Espinosa and Brutal Types are doing over there. This story, I think, is interesting, though, because they are not just revivals and historical preservation. They are doing some branding, and this is a typeface. They collaborated on this with some studios. As I zoom in, the pictures get smaller, so let's not do that. They collaborated with Gasholder and Wester Gas Group to create this brand identity. What I think is cool about this, I'm not going to go into all the details, but what I think is cool about this is that rather than having like a static logo, basically what they decided to do was have a custom typeface built, and then it exists in all these different, all these different sizes and styles and stuff. You can see this one here is much more narrow on the right compared to the one on the left. This custom type basically is the brand voice. That one there is really, really narrow, huh? Really compressed. What does that even say? Jobs? Somebody might know who that is. Maybe it's a band, maybe it's a DJ. But I think this is a really cool concept. We've seen, modular logos and things like that before, but I'm not sure that we've seen brands that literally forego having a brand typeface, and they'll use like 50 different typefaces, different fonts and stuff like that. Cool. Seems like a little bit of a cop-out to me. This, though, feels different somehow. They've got 3 different widths, it looks like here. They've got a few different typefaces, or a few different fonts in this one typeface. But what I think is really cool here is that it feels more organic in a way, because a normal human, unless you're a cartoon character, a normal human doesn't look exactly the same every day. You're wearing different clothes. Maybe your voice is a little hoarse like mine right now. Maybe you're just in a different mood. You have like a slightly different appearance. And I feel like that's kind of what this typography can do. It can have like slightly different appearances, but it's still all the same branding. Gasholder, probably saying that wrong. But yeah, so I think it's cool. I think it's worth noting, just in terms of like a concept, and then also in terms of what Brutal Types is doing. Brutal Types is like a sub Foundry of Retype, so it's no surprise that they're doing more than just historical and revivals and stuff like that. But pretty cool, and that one is also linked in the description. One more featured story here, and we're kind of swinging back in the opposite direction with this one. I am sure if you have ever been on the typography subreddit, you have seen Fonts Radar pop up, and you have probably not seen them pop up in a very positive light. Now, this is a very nuanced conversation, but Fonts Radar pops up a lot on typography subreddit as well as the font subreddit, with people getting threatening in their words. This is the people posting it words, threatening letters, basically saying like, hey, we're going to sue you, used a font that you weren't supposed to, we're going to take legal action, you need to pay us, you need to respond immediately. Sometimes they'll send an email that says, we've already tried to reach out to you so many times and you didn't respond. And the people that post these posts claim that that's not the case. And anyway, you've probably come across that before. I'm telling you what these people have posted. I don't know how much of it's true. You know, people post things on Reddit. I remember being on like the video game subreddits. Any game I was playing, someone would be getting banned from some video game and be like, I swear I didn't cheat, and they kicked me off anyway. You never know if they actually cheated. So these people that are using typefaces and then getting caught by Font Radar using them, I guess I should probably say what they do. We don't know if they're actually accidentally using them in good faith. We don't know if they had an Adobe license that they misunderstood. We don't know if Fonts Radar is actually picking up on something they shouldn't be picking up on. But what Fonts Radar does is they basically police the internet for fonts that are being used not under the license. And they posted this entire diatribe, like this giant, maybe diatribe's the wrong word. They posted this enormous post. You're seeing how long this is scrolling. This is a Reddit post. Like, this is a Reddit post, and this is the definition of TLDR. Like, who, the first comment on here, oh, I think I got deleted. I think the first comment on here got deleted. It did. It said, that's way too long. Nobody's going to read this. I think the first comment got removed by mods, or maybe it got downvoted. There are 99 comments on here, so maybe it just got pushed down further to the bottom. But this is a giant explanation for what they do and why they do it. And I think that it's interesting, but I also think that it's a horrible approach to trying to reach out to people. It would have been a lot easier if they were like, hey, we are Fonts Radar. We've heard a lot of you talk about us. This is our AMA. Just do a live AMA, let people ask anything they want, you answer the questions, rather than posting this giant thing being like, we're not everything that you say we are. This seems very defensive. So in the same way that I was a little bit critical of the marketing from Schrifteria, I don't have anything wrong with a company policing the internet and finding fonts that are being used improperly. I want foundries to get paid. I want designers to get paid. I love typography. I want it to keep being created. But once again, I don't know that I should have checked how many words. This is several thousand words of posted here on Reddit, a Reddit post by Font Radar. Like, let's just think about what Reddit is. You're scrolling through. Maybe you tap into something, read a few comments for like a minute, maybe, and then you're on to the next thing, scrolling through. It's not TikTok, but it's very much social media, and it's very much not something you're going to sit and read all of this. So I do think it's interesting if you want to go and learn what Font Radar does, because I think we probably all have like a misconception about what they do in some sense. But this is also entirely their perspective, and it's entirely their conversation of what them saying they are. So, you know, go check out some posts and see what other people have said. Go check out this and then see them defending themselves. I am going to reach out to Font Radar and see if they want to have a conversation with me. Speaking of which, I guess I should have noted this before. I have several conversations. Maybe I'll save this for the end so we're not interrupting this story. I have several other conversations I've already had and I'm having. They're going to be posted. But I am going to reach out to Font Radar. They say we're here to talk. I will see if they want to talk to me. So that's linked in the description. Go ahead and check it out. If you've never heard of Font Radar, maybe you'll never care, but it is, if you ever improperly use a typeface, there's a good chance that this is who you will be hearing from. So maybe go read it just for that. And if you're a type designer, Maybe you want to go look at Font Radar and see what they do from the perspective of maybe protecting some of your IP. People have very strong feelings about them. I'm kind of neutral because I don't know really what the true story is. I've seen their posts on Font Radar. I've seen other people's posts or on Type Drawers. I've seen their posts on Type Drawers. I've seen a lot of bad stuff. I've seen a lot of like arguments and things like that. So I'd be interested to have a real conversation and get to the bottom of it. Funny enough, Font Radar and Font Ninja are the same company. Yeah, okay, that's another conversation for another day. But let's go ahead and move on. We've got updates. We've got a bunch of updates. These updates are going to be really quick because I want to get to the new releases. That's what I want to talk about. But I feel like all of these are pretty cool and worth checking out. So 6 quick updates or upcoming. The first one here, I'll leave my face on for these because if I block something, no big deal. We'll talk about them again later. The first one here is coming from WiseType. This is a preview of a new font that they've got coming out. It's called WT Holger. I should say Typeface coming out. I am going to pause on some of these, so let me just let this go really, really fast right now. But this is their new typeface that they're teasing, says arriving September. So maybe, you know, in 1 week, maybe in 5 weeks, but coming September 2026. Let me make sure that this is muted. Boop. And we're just going to real quick, tap, 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 and try to pause on some interesting pictures here because I think, there we go. That's fine. We missed a couple. I think this is really cool. What you can see what they're doing here. They're doing some proofing and they're looking at how they're going to refine their typeface. It's really cool to see how they've got all this laid out. I am under the assumption that this is real and that this is not just marketing right now, because why would you waste the time to do this? But it's cool to see how they're looking at these combined because they're looking at the lowercase compared to the lowercase case italic. And I've never thought about how someone might compare those to see how they fit as a family, because true italics a lot of times do seem very different, but somehow they still make it work. You can see them just like refining stuff. And I think this is really cool just to kind of see a little bit of the behind the scenes on this. And beyond that, when we get to some of these, look at some of these ligatures and stuff. Everybody's probably seen this ST ligature that's on the play sign there, the play button. But they've got an SP and an ST here that's got a really funky ligature. There is some reference material that you're going to see in a second that makes sense. Right here, you can see fructum, and you can see that CT there, and I think that's where they're pulling in that ligature from. But you can see a swash on the M here, and we've got a whole page of swashes right there. And I don't know how to mute this because it's muted right there, but somehow it keeps playing a little bit of sound. Anyway. You can even see some printer marks and stuff there. This looks really cool. I'm excited to see this. Just wanted to once again show you something neat that I thought was that's coming up. This is coming up in September. WiseType WT Holger. On to the next update. This one's an update. This one's coming from Simple Bits, and it is an update to Hubana 2.0. There is a blog article. What is he calling these? Maybe newsletter article. There was a newsletter article on here as well as the actual store page. Both of these are linked in the description. Hubana 2.0, he added two, this is Dan Cederholm is Simple Bits. Dan added 2 weights to Hubana as well as some additional glyphs and symbols. So if you were a fan of Hubana, I forget when this released, but if you were a fan of Hubana, it has gotten even better. 2 more weights, more glyphs, and some new symbols. And if you already purchased Hubana, you do get a free update on this. Also, just while we're here, let me go ahead and click on this secret club real quick for you, because you can just buy this outright for, let's see how much it costs, $24. But if you subscribe to Simple Bits Secret Club, I think it's $60 a year. Yeah, $60 a year. You get all of the fonts. You get all of the fonts instantly. Instantly, you get all of the fonts. It used to be that when you were subscribed for the year, you would get the fonts that released during the year. But I announced this in January because he updated it. If you subscribe today, you can go get all of the fonts. So if we go to fonts real quick, all of these, you get all of them. So if you were going to go buy one, you got to ask yourself for another $36. Plus whatever comes out for the next 12 months, would I rather have that opportunity cost? So I think it would probably be worth it. If you're going to pick up one of these fonts, just go grab all of them. And then you also get a bunch of other stuff. You get a bunch of, you get free updates and stuff like that. You get all the new releases that come out. He also has community access. So the community access, I believe, is like a Slack server or Discord or something like that. But there's extra live streams. There's all kinds of stuff. So I think that's pretty cool. Shout out to Simple Bits and the Secret Club. But this week right here, Hubana 2.0, 2 new weights, new glyphs, new symbols, looking good. We've got 2 more updates. Well, we've got 4 more updates. I apologize. 4 more updates here. We've got 2 future fonts coming up. I'm going to go to the future fonts web pages first so I can point something out, and then we'll go to their Foundry sites. So we've got 2 future fonts reaching the finish line here. Future fonts, if you don't know, is betas, works in progress that you can help support and fund the progression of, and you basically get to purchase the font really cheap upfront with a great license that typically includes at least desktop and web, but sometimes, like Motley here from James Plattner, includes desktop, web, and app. And maybe you'll pay like 20, 30, 40 bucks for it when it first releases, but then you get all the updates along the way. And then when a font releases like this, now it costs 150 for a desktop web combo, essentially the same because, we've been getting the combo before. Then you get the full thing as it releases. When it gets to the finish line, even when it gets beyond the finish, if they keep uploading, you get all of those updates. But this one is no longer available on future fonts. Sometimes when future fonts reach the finish line, they move over to the Foundry website. So you get everything up till now, and then you'll get the version 1.0 from future fonts. I'm not sure if you get everything after 1.0 or not. Look into that. But this is now only available on James Plattner's website. So Motley, we reported on this. We reported on the old one. Let me see what episode that was. If you want to see more on Motley, we reported on this in episode number 38. But that was the initial 0.1 release. This is the 1.0 release. And it looks cool. Whoa. Just wanted to give you a vibe check on this one. Looks like it's got 7 styles now. And by 7 styles, I do believe it's 7 weights. I don't think there are any italics on this. But it looks really fun. Looks really, looks really friendly. Yeah, there we go. Motley from Latinotype, James Plattner, has reached version 1.0 on future fonts. So it is now a full release available on plattnertype.com. And both of those are linked in the description because I think you might want to go back and just, look at some of the version notes and things like that if you're interested in how this progressed or you want to see what a font looks like as it goes through future fonts. The second future font that we have here is coming from Spoke. And let me make sure I'm clicking on the right things. I appreciate all the lurkers. I see you guys. I don't know who you are, but I see you. But I see the number. So I appreciate you guys hanging out with me tonight, and I appreciate anybody watching the replay as well. Second future font and fourth updated font for the week is Vieno from Spoke. I never know if I should say Spoke or CocijoType, but they're saying Spoke right here, so that's what I'm going to go with. This similarly reached the finish line. You can still download a trial on this, but it is going to be limited. You can also get the trial on Spoke's website. But you can see this reached version 1.0, no longer available on future fonts. So we're going to head over to the website, and here it is right here. I thought this one was really interesting. I was not previously familiar with Vieno. Love the diamond tittles on there. Love the cupped serifs. This looks like a nice typeface. Don't have time to really get into it, but what I found most interesting is that there's a mono style on this. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 weights plus italics for 14 styles, but then you've got actually 15 total styles because you have the mono weight as well. It looks like mono is only in light, maybe. It looks kind of like light to me. I don't think that's regular, but I could be wrong. Mono is mono. There is no specific weight for it. I guess we could do this. Let's turn this one to mono, and we'll see. Oh no, it looks heavier. Oh, that's extra light. Put it next to light. That feels very similar to light to me. I love a light monospace. When a monospace gets too heavy, it feels weird to me. Feels no longer like a typewriter, which is great. Do something different, but I don't know. In my heart, monospace is always pretty light, so that makes sense. This is a really cool looking typeface, though. I wish that I had more time to get into this one, but it is in the description. And there is a limited trial that you can go get. By limited, I mean limited in characters and features, not like limited time period or limited number of them or anything like that. So you can go get this from Spoke, or you can go get it from Future Fonts. It's going to be the same trial. I did download both just to check. And right there's the mono. The mono does look pretty clean. Yeah, that's a fun one. Spoke. While we're on this topic, I guess I should have said this at the start. Future Fonts, goodness. Deep dives have moved to their own standalone videos, and I have a couple of them that I'm already working on that are coming out soon. But if you see any of these that you want to see deep dives on, let me know, because I very much do make decisions based on what you guys are into. I just wanted to point out, Vieno does have a they do have a PDF specimen that I think does a really good job of showcasing the font. I'm just going to scroll through it really quick, but if you don't want to deal with the website, you want to see this, a little bit more traditionally, I do think that Spoke did a really good job with this one, and you can see it not just in like big specimen-y, type of ways. You can see they've even got some icons and stuff here, but I think it looks really nice. You can see some swashes, and it just puts it a little bit more in context. You can see some things written out, and I do think the PDF specimen's worth checking out if you're interested in Vieno from Spoke. But like I said, if you're interested in any of these, go ahead and let me know, and I will definitely add them to my deep dive list. This though was Spoke's new full release. This was Vieno from Spoke, previously a Future Font, now available on SpokeType.com. Two more updates here, and these are not Future Fonts. The first one here is British Standard Type, and did I click the right link? I hope so. Let's go ahead and click on this one. British Standard Type, here it is right here. Previously released Ritma in 2023. I don't know what the relationship is. I didn't look into it. Reforma and Ritma look kind of similar. Maybe they're both referencing the same historical typeface or something like that, but similarly named and similarly styled, which I thought was interesting, but I didn't have time to dive into because this is just a quick update for you. But Ritma looks really, really nice. This is coming from British Standard Type, and now we're not really seeing it on this page here though, so I'm going to go ahead and go over to their Instagram. They have added 7 italics to their 7 weights. So often I am critical when a workhorse typeface gets released and it doesn't have italics, because you got to have italics. You at least have to have like the regular italic weight for body copy if it's going to be a workhorse. If it's just a display typeface, fine, release upright. I get it. Releasing italics takes time. It takes resources. But Ritma here, since I am often critical that fonts are, quote unquote, missing the italics, I thought it would be smart or fair to start pointing out when Foundries add their italics to it. And that's what British Standard Type here has done with Ritma. They've added italics to all 7 weights. And that right there looked like it is variable. Oh, I do have variable written down. So 14 total weights now, or 14 total styles, 7 weights plus italics. And it is variable. And you can see right there that it's got a variable slider on this. Actually, this has a full trial. I don't know. Let me check real quick. Do I have this in here? Oh, there's Vieno right there. I do have it. Let's just look at this right here. I didn't I didn't plan on hopping into Affinity for these, but oh, you know what? That's why. The trial is it's full, but it's only it's not variable. It's only static. So that's why I was surprised to see this here. But I did have it written down that it is variable, and you can see some very nice interpolation there between the Roman and the italic. So it must be a slant axis. I don't think that would be like true italics unless some of the letters are going to pop. I guess we could look for an E real quick. No, the poetry E right there looks very similar to the E in Mayer right there, Harold Meyer. Anyway, we're spending too long on this, so let's move on. We got to point out the golden ratio here. These are so silly. Why is this in here? Why is this in here? I thought we stopped doing the golden ratio stuff. Okay, British Standard Type, very nice release, or very nice update to a very nice release. Ritma originally released in 2023 and now comes in italic as well. Website's not updated, but you can purchase the italic, and I'm sure that they'll have those listed on there soon. One more updated typeface here, and it is coming from Approximate Type. Let me see. I want to go to the Instagram too. Their Instagram, not the Instagram. I swear I'm not. I swear I'm not a boomer. Okay. Reply. This is at reply from Approximate Type. And I did ask Approximate Type one time if the AT is pronounced AT reply or at reply. And they specifically told me it is at. So if you've ever wondered if the AT in front of their typefaces is, let's go ahead and put this on dark mode since we're in dark mode. There we go. Very nice. I appreciate it. Approximate Type. You can see this is a pretty standard, I guess, neo-grotesque. Got nice FT ligature there. I kind of like that one. That's kind of funky too. I should have paid attention to what was actually updated on this one. 14 total styles, 7 weights plus italics. It's variable. 929 glyphs on this one. I forget what was actually updated on this. I apologize, but I do know that it was recently updated. This says, the brief was to draw Arial from memory. And this is what caught my eye. Their branding, their marketing for this, not branding, they're marketing for this one, their type specimens here. They're drawing Arial from memory, and they are very much in that Arial era with this Windows, what would be we in here? Like Windows XP probably. This Windows XP icons, man, I miss AIM. And you can see, it's got that slight Arial vibe to it, but it's definitely doing things a little bit different. You can see the slant right there. And there once again, we've got variable axis for the italic. That's pretty nice. I used to think that the variable axis for italics or slants was silly because I would think like, what are you really going to use this for? I have since come around to the idea, to the notion, because God, I miss ICQ too. I'm old, but I have since come around to it very much because the same concept of having like one font, even though you're probably never really going to use that slider unless you're doing some kind of animation, having just one font file and not having like a variable Roman and a variable italic. Now when I see that, I'm kind of like, ew, why didn't you stick them together? Obviously you can't if it's true italics, but when you can do this, I do appreciate the slider, even if it's binary, even if it can't do this cool like transition between the two. I'll take a binary italic slider over no italic slider. If I can. You can see right here, they've got some alternates and things like that. I guess I could read this right here. They'd probably tell us what happened. It says, over the past year or so, this grotesque has quietly grown into a much larger family, now spanning light to black. With italics, Beziers have been refined, spacing improved, kerning reworked, and character sets expanded to cover Latin S and Vietnamese. So this started out as a 2016 graduation project from the Royal Academy in Copenhagen. But I wasn't sure what all went on, but it seems like a complete overhaul, complete refinement and additions, and it looks like a very complete typeface. I do have some details for you. Like I said, 14 total styles, 7 weights plus italics, variable, 929 glyphs. So this is a pretty deep typeface, 26 open type features. I think this is very much in line with what you'd be able to get out of Arial for most people. In that workhorse category, that it's probably going to be able to do quite a bit for you, and it seems like it's getting even more expanded language support. Got a lot of icons and stuff on here. Wow. Yeah, looks good, and I love the marketing for it. So shout out to Approximate Type. We didn't even get into the second one, did we? There's that one, and there's this one here. Oh, this is just the website. Okay. But yeah, this is really, really fun marketing, and it perfectly makes sense when you're drawing Arial from memory. Okay, let me get a drink of water. And oh, I didn't, wait. Sorry. This is not the way I want to start this. Okay, like I said, today's episode is sponsored by FontBase, so we're going to do a quick FontBase sponsored segment here. They do not, FontBase does not tell me what to say. They have no idea what I'm going to say right now. But I have used FontBase for a few years before we got sponsored, and so I was very pleased to be sponsored by FontBase. You guys have heard me talk about FontBase for like 7 weeks now. I think this is the 7th week they sponsored. I've talked about a lot of the features that I like, but I've never really said like why you actually should get a font manager. So this goes for even beyond FontBase, font managers in general. Please look at them. But if you use Windows, this is what the font section looks like. I saw comments on Reddit being like, what font manager do you guys use? And then the comment or posts on Reddit saying, what font managers do you guys use? And then the comments being like, why would I use a font manager? I just install it to the system. This is what you get to look at when you install it to the system. And I guess if you already know exactly what your font looks like and you know exactly what you want from it, then cool. This is a great thing to just be simple. Like if it's someone that's not a designer, they don't really care. They only use the system fonts anyway. Yeah, add like 10 or 12 system fonts to this. Add 100 system fonts to it. It doesn't necessarily matter. But if you're like me and you grow your fonts up to, well, today it says 47 because my server is not turned on apparently, but I have over 50,000 fonts. If you have a lot of fonts, you don't want them to be in the system installed all the time and active all the time. So use a font manager. Let me just show you real quick what this does. Obviously, I've talked about all the different views you get. You know, there's a grid view, there's this view, there's the collections, all the different things that I've talked about before. That's not what I want to show you today. Let me go ahead and install my favorite font of last year, and that is Rotina from SharpType and Eric Marinovich. And I'm going to show you in the fonts right here. If you search for this, Rotina, if I can spell it right, Rotina does not exist. I turned it on here. Let's go ahead and turn on, like, I don't know, the script and variable font. Turn it on, boom, already active in your system fonts. So it's a great way to get like the speed of system fonts without actually having to have 50,000 or, you know, maybe some of you have like 1,000 fonts. 1,000 fonts even is too much to have installed on your system, in my opinion. Every time you open an app that uses the fonts, it has to load all of those fonts. So if you've ever tried to click a drop down on like on a design app or even Microsoft Word, and it's been really slow to show you the fonts, think about getting a font manager. So shout out to FontBase for sponsoring this week's episode. Link is in the description somewhere. Go check it out. Next up, we have all of our new releases. Let's get into these guys. Let's get into some new releases. I am going to turn my face off because these are going to be a little bit more important to not miss anything. So I'll see you guys at the end. Can I find my face? Can I find my face? Okay. Our first new release this week is coming from CocijoType, and it is not called MakeMake, as I called it in my head all week. It is called MakeMake, and MakeMake is a deity from those Eastern Island guys. It is one of the deities from there. I do not know much about it. I also know that it is a dwarf planet, and I do believe that is where the name like really comes from. So it says it's somewhere on here. MakeMake. Its name is inspired by MakeMake, the dwarf planet named after the creator of the deity of the Rapa Nui mythology. So that's where it takes its name. That doesn't necessarily matter too much to me. What matters to me is that this is a really fun looking color font. Love to see color font technology be getting a little bit more, becoming a little bit more common. This one here is really fun though. This feels like peak 90s cartoons to me. I don't know, maybe I'm feeling a little nostalgic this week. I'm just gonna give you a quick vibe check right here. We're gonna look at it on Instagram real quick, and then I'll hop into Affinity and give you a quick look at how this color font works in there. Unfortunately, on the website right here, you're only seeing one color, but their Instagram does have some fun reels and stuff like this. That's cool, showing you how you can use it. That's nice. What I'm more interested in showing you though is all the different colors. So these are the built-in color palettes. And maybe you're thinking, why do I need built-in color palettes? Well, because there are two different colors on this, and you can have two colors in one font. You could actually have way more than two colors, but this one has two colors. And so those are the 10 color palettes that are built into this. I can show you these in Affinity, but it's a little bit easier just to give you a quick vibe check on Instagram. Let me go ahead and pull this up in Affinity, and I can get you way more details. Let's go ahead and get out of that. Boom, boom. I actually have this on dark screen today because I think that some of these look really, really cool, but they just don't look good on my mint green color. So let me give you some details about MakeMake here. There it is. This is coming from CocijoType, designed by Sandra Garcia. One style, I have an asterisk on that because Technically, there are 10 different color palettes, and there are also there are also layered fonts. So you could get a filled and an outline font and not use color fonts at all. Static, not variable. 512 glyphs and 23 OpenType features. These are numbers that are pretty surprising for a font that looks like this. Typically, a display font that looks this much fun doesn't have this many characters or OpenType features. But the thing, one interesting thing on this is that it has, let me check my notes. I don't want to say anything wrong. Gosh, yeah, it does have, I wanted to be sure. It does have a wide range of indigenous languages, language support for indigenous languages in Mexico, which I think is pretty cool. CocijoType is being from Mexico. So that is one of the reasons why it has such a large glyph count, because this does support Mexican indigenous languages, which I think is interesting. You could purchase this from the Foundry. There's no trial, so what we're looking at today is a review license that I requested and received from CocijoType. Just $34 on desktop. And I put, I want to remind myself, I did not like the video license. So we'll get to the license here in a second. I can go ahead and spoil it for you. So for the video license, just to get it out of the way. So they have typical like standard like desktop, web, app, and server licenses, but then they're breaking out social media. But the thing for me that I didn't like was that they're breaking out the video. Let's just go ahead and do this now. How do we buy this? All the way at the bottom? Here it is right here. So if you look down at the bottom, it's just $34. Great. 30% off. Not sure if that's a launch window thing or not, but desktop, that's our typical standard where we look at it. I like to see social media included in it, but you know, for a $34 font, if you're getting the lowest social media, you're just doubling your price. $68 still isn't the end of the world. Don't love it, but it is what it is. But if we were to go for broadcast, one production on broadcast is $686 to use this font one time in one video. And, you know, sometimes the broadcast is typically like a feature film. Like if you're going to use this in the new Batman movie, you know, you need to pay $600 and some dollars. That's not what this is. This also includes YouTube, Facebook, Vimeo, and any other streaming platform. So I would assume that's going to be like Twitch and things like that. It specifically tells you that you, like for me, if I was going to do one YouTube video, it would cost me almost $700. Whereas a desktop license where you could typically use this in videos over and over and over and over would cost $34. So I would never, ever encourage anyone to use this for videos because, I mean, this is a super cool font, but I don't understand that pricing. And CocijoType, please feel free to leave a comment and let us know if I'm getting that wrong. On to the more positive things. I'm going to have one more bad thing. I apologize, guys. On to the positive things, though. Look at this font. It is so tight. It is so full. It is like, I don't even know the correct adjectives to use with this one. It is so much fun. Like this Q right here, this is just peak, like, I don't know. It reminds me of like Ren and Stimpy. Like it reminds me of Stimpy's nose. Like this just feels like the font is smiling at me. It feels like peak Nickelodeon 90s cartoons. It's not just or what do you say? It's not just cartoons, it's Nicktoons. But you're going to start to see some issues. I'll come to those in a second. Lowercase, just as much fun as the uppercase. And like I said when we were looking at the details there, this has 23 OpenType features. There are a lot of ways that you can customize these glyphs in really fun ways. Let me just show you a couple of them. I don't want to get hung up for too long because this is not a deep dive. But let me just show you. They've got them really, the names on these are really fun. Let's go with the E because it's got a few different options. So you've got the E and you've got these curves right here. You can do a happy E. The happy E has like, you see what it's doing? Two like smiles. You can do the unhappy E, which gives you two going down. And I know that might seem silly, but it also has the glob E. So instead of being this middle part, the crossbar being behind the top and bottom, it can come out in front. These are the kind of like little details that I think would be really fun to play around with this font, like really, really make it your own. It just, I don't know. I love how full and how squished together this is, but how much it actually works. Sometimes you get these types of fonts where they try to be really full and they're just completely illegible and they just look bad. This is not the case. This one is so much fun. I love this design. So shout out to CocijoType on this one. You may have noticed some of the things I'm going to nitpick on this one. Let me show you the color palettes real quick. You can do them just up in the styles. For whatever reason, these are all separate font files. They're not like styles that you can just easily drop down and change. Similarly, they are not, the color customization in Affinity does not work, unfortunately. You can see that it's possible to customize them over here. I know it's going to be really small. You can see that I can change these colors right here. So that means there is probably color 1, like the color 1 font format, but the SVG color is overriding it. I think that was typically what was happening in Affinity when the fonts let you see the color palette to pick the colors, but they don't actually work. So if you did want a more like a shy E, Onju Studio in the house, Onju Studio is saying this is more like a shy E with the E going in the back. Yeah, I like that one. Can we get it in the back? There it is right there. There's the E, the shy E going in the back. The outgoing E, the shy E. So these up here are the color, these are the preset color palettes. Not a good way to change the colors on these. You know, you'd have to expand them. You'd have to go in, change the colors yourselves. Or go use a tool like DJR's color font customizer. That would be an option as well. But instead, what we're going to do is go old school and do the layered fonts. So this could be cool too. You know, layered fonts have their place. Obviously, you could do this, 2 things. One, you could just use this like this. There's nothing wrong with just using it as it is, just using the fill. You could also just use the outline. These look pretty freaking cool all by themselves. I could imagine doing some fun stuff with imagery and illustrations using those. There's a problem though, and the layered ones are bigger offenders than the color font, but they all have the problem. Let me show you with like the H real quick. You can see right here, there's a gap. And in a color font, there's no way to fix that gap. So there's a problem with the alignment here. It seems like it should be a simple fix. I don't know. You know, I don't know if this is an Affinity problem. I don't know if this is a font problem. But some of the characters work better than others. This is the close-up of the C right here. You can see there's no problem there. But when we get to the layered ones, you've got this gap right here in the C. The layered ones are really, really bad. And they're not linearly off. Like the A is just a little bit off. But by the time you get to the S stats over here, they are way, 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 way off. So there's an issue with these right now, and I don't know. I would wait for an update. Personally, obviously, you can go in and you can, you know, manually like boom, boom, boom. You know, you could fix these, but you don't want to have to do that. Let's be honest, you don't. But there is the layered option, so that would be a good way to change the colors. But there's this issue right now, and I trust me when I say that I've tested this. I've tried to get it to line up. I've played with it. I've made sure my text boxes are in the right place. I can do it for you right now. Let me go ahead and delete that one. I'll just Command J, copy this. You can see it's in the exact same place. I can change the color. It's exactly the same, guys, exactly the same. But if I change this to the outline, boom, and we go in, let's just go ahead and skip to the end. They don't line up. They don't line up. So it's a problem with the font. You know, the font is super fun, super cool, but there is that small but significant issue right now. So I really like this one. I really hope that they can sort out the video license, at least for smaller creators. Please do something for YouTube. Like YouTube and Twitch do not belong on the same license as Facebook and movie theaters, or I mean Facebook, Netflix and movie theaters. And then this has to get sorted out. But otherwise, at its core, those things can be fixed. At its core, this is a super fun, full, pudgy 1990s peak cartoon. You know, that's just what it reminds me of. Maybe they would disagree that that's what it's supposed to be, but I think this looks so much fun. I hope those things can get sorted out, and then I think it's going to be a steal at $34. Okay, let's move on. I'm going to get a drink of water. We've got 7 more of these to get through. Okay. I'm taking some extra breaks to get some water because I did lose my voice a few episodes ago, so I don't want that to happen again. And then I'll add chapters for everybody watching the replay. Okay. Our second new release this week is coming from Latinotype, and it is Suspiria. I think I'm saying that right. Suspiria. It is Spanish for sigh. Funnily enough, Fabio Haag has a font called that released last year or released sometime recent called Suspiria, which is sigh in Portuguese. So Spanish speaking Foundry, Portuguese speaking Foundry here in Brazil, both with same translations. Fonts have nothing to do with each other. I just thought it was funny because I was like, didn't we already see this? But no, we did not. So Suspiria from Latinotype. This is a fun one. This is a grotesque that is attempting to stand out rather than to fade into the background. So a lot of times neo-grotesques, their whole job is to just be neutral, be vanilla, fade into the background. Let's not forget this before I move on. If you're interested in this, there is a code right now listed on the webpage. Suspiria 60 gets you 60% off. I will give you some pricing here in a little bit. But let's go ahead. I think you probably got a vibe check on this. Let's go ahead and move over to Affinity and we can look at this a little bit closer. I think this looks cool. It's interesting. I think that it might look a little bit more interesting when I show you some of the details in Affinity though. So let's go ahead, move on from that one and move over to Suspiria. This is coming from Latinotype, like I said. Felipe Sanzana, didn't say that name out loud until just now. 8 weights on this one, no italics, just Roman, 8 weights, it's static, 528 glyphs, 16 open type features. You could purchase it from the Foundry or you can get it on MyFonts as well. No trial on this one. As such, I did request and receive a review license from Latinotype. Shout out to them for supplying that. I said before that it's difficult to get fonts review licenses from Latinotype. Now they've been very helpful in the last few weeks, so I really do appreciate that. $60 for the full family on desktop. That comes down to less than $10 per style on this, which is a absolute steal for a font from Latinotype, if it does what you need it to do, of course. That is with that 60% off code. So standard price on this is going to be $149 US for the full family on desktop. It does have a standard license, nothing to complain about there. But if you're into this, I would consider, I said I don't like the FOMO, but I mean, for 60% off, if you're interested in this, go use the code for sure. Let me show you some variable axes on here. Oh no, we don't have variable axes on this. This one's static, but let me show you some weights. Let's go ahead and do it on the top here. So 8 weights on this one. We're starting out at extra light, going all the way down to black. Boom. One of the interesting things about this, let's go ahead and do let me dupe this real quick. Wasn't planning on doing this, so I apologize for the sloppiness. But I want to show you these side by side so you can see what I'm talking about. If I can click on it with the right tool, there we go. I'm going to turn this one into just like a regular. You can see with the regular weight, these counters are pretty open. They're not, hyper legible, the most open counters you've ever seen in your life, but they're pretty open. At the black weight, they are intentionally hitting the serif to some of the other sections of the type of the characters. So if we look at the S, you can see it hitting there. You can look at the A, you can see the A hitting the bowl, the top terminal of the A hitting the bowl. So they're doing this purposely. Once again, this is a grotesque meant to stand out. It's not supposed to be your neutral fade into the background font. But I did think that was pretty interesting because even when we get up to like the extra bold, you're not quite getting to where they're hitting yet, but they timed it perfectly to where when you get all the way up to that black, it perfectly touches the other portion of the font. It never breaks into it. It's not going to look sloppy. It doesn't go inside of one of the one of its own like limbs or spines or bowls. All of these anatomy terms. I don't believe limb is one, but we do have arms and legs, so I'm going to go with it. But yeah, I thought that was interesting. I think it's pretty cool. You can see this is a pretty wide font, and that's going to come back into play when we get to the lowercase. Very long crossbars on the E and the F. Oh, and on the G too. Wow, look how long that crossbar is on the G. But this is a cool looking font. It's not going to blow your mind. It's going to look like a grotesque, but I do think it's doing some interesting things. Like the Q here, like that it stops at the baseline with the tail on that one. And for some reason, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the maybe that I studied design during the Gotham's golden era or something, but I love those wide R's like that for some reason. But yeah, you can see this is a very wide typeface. Love this ampersand. It's really fun. I don't believe there's an alternate for this. No, not a lot of alternates on this one. They've got some alternate, circled arrows and things like that. Got a couple of estets there. But let me show you the lowercase, and specifically, I'm going to show you the X height on this, because as I was going through this in I don't know, my mind's eye, I thought that this felt like it had a tall X height on it. But as I was getting into the LMNOP, this area here, I was kind of like, huh, that kind of seems like it has a shorter X height than you first imagine that it does. I think the fact that it's so wide makes you feel like the X height is actually bigger than it is. But if I put Roboto on top of it, Roboto's in red, you can see how high Roboto is compared to Suspiria from Latinotype. And it's not that Latinotype, or not Latinotype, it's not that Roboto has a super tall X height. Yes, it does have a big X height because it's meant to be used at small sizes, but it's not a crazy high X height. So I do think that gives you some perspective on how much lower this X height is compared to some other modern fonts that you probably see on a day-to-day basis, which I appreciate. I like it. I like to see somebody doing something different. We see fonts pushing the X height as high as they possibly can. So it's nice to see one doing the opposite here. And just to give you another reference here, I put the O on there because I wanted to show you how much higher or how much lower Suspirio's X height is than some modern typefaces. And then I just wanted to show you the O and the H here for reference, so you can see that it's not that Roboto is bigger. The Roboto capitals are actually smaller at the same point size than Suspiria from Latinotype. So this X height's going to look significantly smaller compared to some other fonts. But the font itself, it still kind of takes up that same area because it is so expanded. So I think that looks really nice. Yeah, there's not a lot to say about this. This is a little bit of what you see is what you get. But I like the goal with this one to stand out rather than kind of fade into the background. And then also I really liked how the black touches the other portions of the glyph. That's pretty fun. Breaking the rules, I'm sure, but when you're that heavy, you're not putting this in body copy. You're using it for display. You're using it to get attention. And you can see how big those tittles, those dots are on the I and the J. Let's see if the punctuation's big. I didn't look at this, but I'm curious now, and I'm probably not going to come back to this for a while. Yeah, I got really, really big punctuation on here. Let me see if I can remember. Yeah. So nice chunky punctuation on there to match those nice chunky dots on the I's and J's and stuff like that. So that is Suspiria from Latinotype. New release. Very nice. If you want it, use that code. It's in the description as well, but it's also on the website to get 60% off this. You can get it for $60 instead of $149. That's always good. We're going to go in the opposite direction here. This third new release is coming from Bleifrei Type. Very nice. That's kind of nice to say. Bleifrei Type. Bleifrei Type. Hopefully I'm saying it right. Otherwise, that just sounds silly, huh? Bleifrei Type. This is, I had to write down how to say this one. This is BT Linienwerk. Till, Jim Girth, one of you guys, somebody, a German speaker, please let me know if I'm saying that right. I think it's German, right? Linienwerk. Which translates to linear network, and that's going to make a lot of sense here when we look at the inspiration. It is inspired by, let me go ahead and just read it for you. BT Linienwerk from Bleifrei Type is a monoline, monospace typeface shaped by the visual language of code, terminals, and grids. Its linear construction and sharp angles give each character a precise technical character. Probably should have chosen some different terms there. Each glyph a precise technical character. I'll fix that. Fix your copywriting for you. But I think it does exactly that. I think, let me scroll down and give you a little bit of a vibe check. Let me see what I want to do. Yeah, let's scroll down. We'll give you a little bit of vibe check on this before we go over to Affinity, show you the official marketing and stuff like that. It looks really cool. And it is variable. We can do the variable right here, and you can see it is mono width or mono monoline. All these lines are the same width, same weight. They have no, there's no contrast. Goodness, let's get to it. This has no contrast. Monoline and a mono width, mono space, but you can change the width on it, which I think is interesting. There's not a lot of like super wide monospace fonts that I can think of offhand. So I think that's interesting. We're going to look at that. And then also it has the variable weight. So that's really nice. Wow, look how thin that gets. We'll look at this in Affinity. I'm getting a little distracted. But you can see this has 18 total styles, 6 weights plus 3 different widths on here. But since it is variable, you can do, not really an infinite number of widths there, but you can refine it to anything in between those 3. And do we have anything in the bottom? I think there was something else down here I wanted to look at. I want to see it in body copy here real quick. I don't have this in body copy. I don't think it's meant for body copy, but it does give you a nice texture. So I could see if you wanted to use this for something, a little bit of a futurism or something here, put it on your starship's user interface or something. It'd be terrible for someone on a ship to read, but it would look pretty cool in a movie or TV show or something like that. So I think this is going to be a really fun one, and it does kind of, when you see these super wide versions of it, these really extended versions, it feels a little microgramma-ish, in my opinion. So here it is right here. I will show you the variable, but let me go through some details. Once again, this is Bleifrei type. Florian, I apologize, Florian, I didn't practice saying your name. Beveler. I apologize. Florian Beveler from Bleifrei type. 18 styles, like I said. 6 weights plus 3 times 3 widths. It is variable, though. 224 glyphs on this one. Very much a display typeface. 8 open type features. You can purchase this from the Foundry, and there is a full trial. So if you're interested in this one, go to the website, go download this yourself, and you can test it out exactly how I am. Price tag on this one is 675 Swiss francs, which translates to about 840 US dollars. That is not the symbol that I wanted to put there. We'll just go ahead and put an equal. I think it's actually about 842. I put interesting license on this one. Let me see what I had here. We'll look at that at the end. Interesting license on this one. Not necessarily bad, but interesting. Linienwerk. Hopefully I'm saying that right. Germans, please let me know. Let's look at some variable axes on this one. Let's go ahead and do it all at once. That's fine. We've got the width axes. Boom. So wide that it leaves the screen. I do have these on another page. No, I don't. Okay, we should do it here. I do not have these on another page. I apologize. Let me stretch this out a little bit so we can see how wide this one gets. Linienwerk. Look how wide that gets. It still doesn't fit on the screen. Finally, we've got it right there. It can get really, really wide, and I think this is what's gonna be really cool for some people that want to replace something like microgramma or microgramma. I'm not sure which way is the proper way to say it. I'm gonna say it in my dumb American accent and say microgramma. But monospace, but you're getting a lot of character out of this, and it does kind of scratch that microgramma itch for me. I'm gonna do a quick A to Z on this one, so you can get a full feel for what this looks like. And I just realized as I'm doing this that I did not show you the weights, so we'll do that in just a second. But this is the regular weight right here. No, this is the bold weight right here. I apologize. This is the bold weight right here. But you can see it's very brutalist, very mechanical, very, very sharp. That's the S-stet right there. The uppercase one, pretty interesting. Let's see the lowercase. And there's the lowercase next to it. So you could definitely differentiate between those two. But it's fun to see some of these characters, how to solve these problems, because this seems like a difficult font to solve the problems. I'm sure there are some characters that come really easy. I'm sure this A, B, C, D, came pretty simple. But then when you try to turn these into an ampersand, an at symbol, I don't know, a dollar sign. Let's see what the dollar sign looks like actually now we're here. A dollar sign. Oh, it's just gonna be the S with a line through it, duh. Yeah, the at's really dark on that. Look at that. Solving some of these other problems with a font that's so prescriptive like this, where there's no contrast, where it's monoline, where it's monospace, where it's very angular like this. There's no curves. Everything is an angle. This would be a difficult one to get right, and I think they managed to do it though. So let's skip the numbers here. The numbers look good, but let me show you some weights on this. So we're at the lowest width right here. It could get really wide, like I said, but it's difficult to keep it on the screen. But we do have some weights that I did not show you because we're at the heaviest weight right now. This is bold. It can go all the way down to hairline. And when I say hairline, I mean hairline. Like printing this at anything other, looking at this at anything other than like maximum, 4K resolution right now, you're basically looking at like a pixel thick, depending on your resolution. These are very, 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 very thin. But that's very, 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 very fun. Being that it's variable, you could definitely do some interesting animations with this, whether it be rollover, whether it be in, the context that I just continue to hammer home, some sci-fi, typography. I think that could be really cool. Then you combine the two. I don't have motion fonts open, but you combine the two, you stretch them out, you change the weight. I think you get really, really crazy with this one. Let me show you the license on this one before we move on, because it is interesting. I'm not sure. I don't know. I don't necessarily have bad feelings about it. I just found it to be interesting. Let me get down to the bottom here. Oh, let's select the whole family. So when I'm doing my prices, I click full family. I want to be able to get everything. That's just the baseline. I know you don't always need everything, but that's just how I do it on Typography News here. And I always choose the lowest possible license, the cheapest one. So 1 to 3 people on this one. Print, digital, all in one. So this not, let's be very clear. This is not desktop, web, all in one. This is print, digital, all in one. And that's what I think is interesting about this one, because for some people, if you're a very print heavy person and you like to have your desktop license and you want to be able to post on Instagram or stuff like that, you'll probably be a little bit like, oh man, like I wish that I could still have like a desktop license. But I think a lot of people are probably just digital. Like Jectives, there's going to be stuff that I want to print eventually, but 99% of my stuff is digital. So being able to just get a digital license, I could get this for 450 Swiss francs instead of the all-in-one license, which is going to cost you 675. So if you don't need to print anything ever, getting the digital license is actually going to be get you much more use cases, because you could use this on everything digital. As long as it's digital, you could use it. I think check the EULA to be 100% sure. But yeah, you can see right here, digital includes website, app, video, social media posts. And I think that probably, let's see if we can use this for a logo. I didn't check that. I don't see any logo. I don't see any trademark. So I'm going to go out on a limb here and speculate and assume that you can do a logo with this. I don't see anywhere that you can't. So I'm going to say fingers crossed, but definitely if you are going to buy this, I'm joking right now. If you are going to buy this, do ask them to confirm if you want to use this for a logo that you can. But I think that's an interesting license. And for me, I'd be able to save a little bit, not have to buy a desktop and a web one. I would just buy the digital one. But an interesting typeface, not going to be for everything, but I think it's for the right project. This would be a really, really cool one. This was BT Linien. Let me try to say it right. This was BT Linienwerk from Bleifrei Type. And we are going to be halfway through with this next one here. Halfway through the new releases, not halfway through the episode. We're way further than halfway, I hope. Just grabbing a drink before we move on. This fourth new release this week is from Typecolony, and this is called Deadbeat. I did see this referred to as Deadbeat script in some other places, but I believe that it's actually Deadbeat. So Deadbeat here, you can see what it is. It's a script typeface. We can go up and down on this website and you're not gonna see any description. I don't know. I didn't ask for a description on this one. I think it just kind of, it is what it is. Like you see it, if you like it. We can't make that one bigger. Oh, it's because it's Deadbeat on there. So I think it looks cool. The first instance of this that I saw though, was this one right here with all the texture and the 3D and stuff. And I was like, oh shit, like I thought that there was like a color font that you could like, or like a font that had like a little bit of texture and stuff to it. And obviously that wouldn't work great at all sizes. If you added that texture, you shrink it down, you make it big. It's much better to just do that yourself. But my lazy brain was like, could I get that effect just from the font? No, you can't. So when you see that, it looks cool, but you're not actually going to be able to do that unless you know how to do that, which you guys probably do, but it's not going to do that for you out of the box. You can see right here, 5 weights on this one. It is variable. We're going to get into that into Affinity. But I just want to show you this on here. This is what you get. Not a lot to look at, but I do think it's a cool font, and you're probably seeing this right here. There's a really cool, like very, almost like a monotone rhythm to this one. It is very, very cohesive. For being as crazy looking as it is, for having as much character as it is very cohesive. And all of those glyphs do line up really well. I've got some body copy set down here that I'm going to show you how well these all do connect. Because sometimes, I don't know, sometimes these script typefaces, they don't connect super well. Let me give you some details. Deadbeat is coming from TypeColle, like I said. I spelled this name wrong. Alif Pandu and Hasto Nugroho. I apologize, TypeColle. 5 weights, variable, 408 glyphs on this one, 10 open type features. You can purchase from the Foundry. There is no trial on this one. Once again, I requested and received a review license, so shout out to TypeColle. $45 for print and social. Questionable license. Another one that I'm not super sure on. I'm gonna have to look and see what I did or did not like on that one. Oh no, I wasn't too. This isn't one that I'm gonna be too critical on, but I did want to remember to note it's not just a standard license. So I wanted to make a note. We'll come back to it at the end. This is Deadbeat. It's doing some interesting things. First of all, the character on this, like, this looks super cool. Maybe this isn't going to be for some people, but for me, I'm not typically like a big script font guy. Something about this one. I can imagine this one in some crazy colors. I think you could do some really cool stuff with it. You could even do the texture and stuff like they were doing. That gives you an idea of some stuff you could do. But I think this is kind of like a blank canvas for you to get really creative with. I think that's got a good base for you. Let me go ahead and show you the variables on this one, because there is a variable weight. Let's just, I don't know, we'll sit like right here. Variable weight on this one, we're sitting at regular right now, but it goes all the way down to light and all the way up to bold. So we've got 5 weights, like I said, on this one. But you can get anything in between, and I think that's pretty freaking smooth. I know it's not a huge change between these. You know, it's not like not going from 100 to 1,000, but it's going from 200 up to 700 in your variable weight there. Let's do a quick A to Z on this one. You guys want to look at the heavy one? I don't know what looks the best to you guys. Let's go semi-bold. I'm torn between regular and bold, so we'll go semi-bold. You can see this is at a slant. It is a script. It's somehow like mechanical and human at the same time. Like, it very much feels like a human wrote this, but you know, a human with the most perfect mechanical handwriting ever. It almost feels like they took a ribbon or something. Like, you could imagine this V right here. It's almost like they took a ribbon and just like folded this over and created each stroke, or, you know, took a flat brush pen or flat nibbed pen and just like very strictly wrote this out in broken strokes. Oh, we got our S-stats right there. We've got the uppercase, lowercase. Very nice. Lowercase here, though, I thought it was really cool how these were connecting. I could have spaced them out. I don't know. If you guys want them spaced out next time, let me know. But I thought it was cool just to see how well these all connect, even though they technically shouldn't be together. I think we see a little bit of a bump right there, but I'm not going to fault them for that. No one's going to zoom in that far. But I think that this looks super clean, and in context of a real word. Let's see how this R does with something next to it. Okay, so the R is going to connect to characters that make sense to connect to. I don't know how you would connect. Well, you could probably connect the Q and the R, but you wouldn't get that tight spacing there. So I think that's probably why he's cut that off as he did, but as they did. I think we had 2 designers on this one, right? As they did. Let's continue on. I really like this one. I don't know. There's something about it. I typically don't report on fonts that I don't like. You know, I'll do a lot of updates and things like that, or I'll do a lot of new releases. But if I have a choice between like 20 fonts, I'm going to pick the 10 that I think are the coolest, or the 10 that are the most noteworthy. So you're going to hear me say that I like the fonts quite often. I've got these in black and white here, and I'll talk about why I'm doing that towards the end of the episode. But you know, I think this makes sense. We should look at them in dark mode and light mode, not just one or the other. So let's go ahead and since we've been looking at this in light, let's go ahead and look at it in dark. The white is going to expand, so it's going to fill a little bit more space. In that case, maybe rather than regular, you take it down to light, or instead of bold, you take it down to semi-bold, and then you do the heavier weight in your light instead. But this is not made for body copy. Obviously, it is not made for body copy, but I wanted to set it in body copy to see how well the characters all connect together. And I think that they do a really good job. I think you're going to probably have to refine a few things. Like if you were doing some headlines and stuff, maybe you go in and you chop off this part of the T if you're really setting it for something important. But I think for like 90% of your use cases, you're going to be able to just type this out and not mess with it again. Let me see if there were any OpenType features on this one. No, we don't have any alternates or anything like that. Very decisive typeface. They set it and that's what you get. But I think this is a fun one. And I think in the right designer's hands, you could do quite a bit with it. Wow, look at communication here. Let me type the perfect word here. Let's not delete Deadbeat though. I want to see how well this, how good or bad this looks. Minimum. Wow, we just got not much legibility out of minimum right there, do we? Just a lot of very similar strokes, but that does say minimum. That's fun. So very, very cohesive. I think for legibility, you probably want it to be characters be a little bit more unique, but I'm feeling this vibe. There's plenty of characters that differentiate, or plenty of script typefaces that do a better job of differentiating. I am fine with this one being super textural and super repetitive. I don't know. I like the rhythm. Maybe you guys don't. Let me know. But I'm a fan of this one. It's fun. Deadbeat from TypeColle. We're going to check out the license real quick before we move on, though. Let me show you this one. Where do we get the license? Every website's different. Okay, so here's the one that I was looking at for you. So the default license, what would be kind of what I would typically think of being as the desktop license, is going to be called print and social media. Let's see how much we can zoom in before we break the website. Zoom in. There it is. Okay, so we can get to about right here. So $45 for all 5 styles. You can only choose the full family. I think that's probably because they're just sending you a variable font. They're not sending out any static fonts. So I don't have a problem with that, but if you need the static fonts, maybe reach out and ask if you can get that. Wait, I already know that you can. Hold on. Let me check. Let me check on this. I already know that you can because look right there. We've got variable and static. So don't listen to me. You do have to buy all 5 styles, it looks like, but you do get static and variable. Okay, so we have the license. That's what I was trying to look at here. License. There's a print and social media license, web, logo, app, server, video, corporate. So typically when I say standard license, I'm talking desktop, web, and app. If there's server and corporate license, I kind of ignore those. I don't think a lot of people, doing a Fortune 500, are looking for fonts on Typography News. Although if you are, welcome. Glad to have you. You're probably having a whole team choose your fonts for you and you're not watching this. But the thing that I think is weird is that there's no desktop license. I don't like that. I like to have one license where I can just be like, desktop, then I can use it for logo, I can use it for social, I can use it for video, and that's what I want. That said, this is $45 for the print and social media. If you tack on the logo to it, you're only doing these one at a time. So the logo by itself is $80. Video by itself is $360. I might be changing my opinion in real time. I was under the impression when I was clicking these that I was adding them all up together. I was thinking that I was clicking 1, 2, 3. So you do have to add these to your cart individually. I don't think $80 for a logo is the end of the world. $80 for Deadbeat to make your logo with Deadbeat. Don't love it, but I don't hate it. I do think it keeps the desktop price a little bit lower. That's fine. Once again, though, why are video creators punished? Let me know, TypeColle. Not the worst that I've seen. We saw a worse one, earlier in the episode. 360 isn't the worst that we've ever seen, but I don't know what's with the video tax, guys. So that I just wanted to let you know what's going on with the license on this one. Maybe that's not a big deal to you, maybe it is, but a license can always change. The font, you know, this font is kind of the font. It might get refinements, it might get updates, but if I like the font and I don't like the license, I'll still report on the font and show it to you guys, because a license can always change. And maybe this license is not a problem for you. Maybe you're like, I want a logo, I want to pay $80 for my logo. Boom, done. Love it. Maybe you want to use it for your website, $75 to use it on your website. Done. Like, the prices are not crazy unless you want to make YouTube videos. Okay, enough shade, enough shade. This was Deadbeat from Type Colony. Really, really cool script typeface. And I like what they're doing with it. We've got 4 more new releases here. I'm going to try to keep it moving and keep my voice. This is a big one. We've got like 4 really, we've had some really good fonts. We've got 4 really, really good fonts coming up here. I'm excited to show you guys these. Okay, this website right here is this web page is really long, so I'm not going to go reading through every single bit of it, but I do encourage you to take a look at it. This 5th new release is from the Pyte Foundry, Pyte, Pyte, the Pyte Foundry. It is Shandy, and Shandy comes in 3 different subfamilies, I guess, 3 different proportions here. We've got Shandy Omni, Shandy, gosh, these are hard to say. Shandy Omni Book, Shandy Polybook, and Shandy Mono Book. What you need to know: Omni is just proportional. It's your standard book typeface. Poly is kind of a, you know, that in between. It's a semi-mono. We've seen this done before. I used to question it. I'll show you why I'm a fan of it now. I forget which foundry explained it to me, but I looked at it through those eyes now, and I'm fine with it. I'm going to go ahead and read you the description on this one. You can see the typeface right there. We'll look at this one right here. Shandy is a compendium of sturdy book faces inspired by the iconic English old styles of the early 18th century, as well as a tribute to the quizzical writing of Lawrence Sterne, best exemplified in his novel The Life and Opinions of Tristram Shandy, Gentleman. Okay. He did note at the bottom of this that Elmar, I'm not sure if Elmar is a he or a she. Elmar reported that they did read the book and in its entirety for the research for this. I have no idea what this book is, but I heard it seems to be a difficult one. Shandy comes in 3 subfamilies, like I said: proportional, semi-mono, and mono. And the italic is purposely spelled wrong with a K at the end. Italic. But look at this right here. You're already getting a look at the italic there. I love that notch on the uppercase A there. But first impressions on this are great, and it gets even better when we get into affinity. If you want to see a deep dive on this one, let me know, because this one I would love to do a deep dive on, but I'm gonna do the ones that you guys want. So I'm a fan of this one though. It is a somewhat limited typeface in that it only has 1 weight. So it's got regular, italic, and then it's got different proportions for those. But there is no bold, there is no heavy. This is a book typeface. So I don't know if this will be expanded in the future, but it does have a full trial, so you guys could grab this right now if you wanted to. This specimen, this webpage though, I think it's doing a lot of heavy lifting, and I think it's really showcasing the font in a great way. I'm not going to keep scrolling all the way to the bottom, but I think you're getting a feel for what's going on. I'm going to go ahead and, they set some HTML in it. Interesting. I don't know that people use it for that, but it doesn't look horrible. Might be fun. Someone let me know, coders out there. Let's go ahead and close some of these other windows. We don't need all this open. Definitely don't need that open. Okay, font base, we'll go down to the system tray, and we're nice and clean now. Shandy. So let me give you some details on this, and we're going to go through this in a little bit more details than some of the others that we've looked at so far. The Pyte Foundry, Elmer, did I spell that wrong? I feel like it has an A. I have an A written in my notes, so I'm going to put an A there. Elmar Stefan, 6 styles on this one. We already talked about those. Static. The glyph count is going to vary depending on which subfamily you're using, but somewhere around 800 glyphs, 774 to 805, depending on where you're at. Somewhere around 30 open type features, 29 to 32. You can purchase it from the Foundry, and it's a full trial. No need to request any review license like me. Full trial on this one, 384 for the family, and I wrote myself a note. Nice basic license. We'll get to that at the end, but it is a combo license. So that price tag represents print, web, social, and subcontractors, which is unique. Okay, so we've got Shandy here. We've already seen, the subfamilies and stuff. I've got them kind of laid out down here. So I'm just going to go ahead and skip straight ahead to the A to Z in Roman. Then we'll show you the different proportions, and then I'll show you italics. I love this notch. I don't know what it is. I don't know why. But you can see nice big bracketed serifs on this. This is the proportional weight. This is what they're calling Omni book. So this is a book typeface, and it looks appropriately old style. A lot of those old style proportions, characteristics. Love the little notch in the J there. Big bracketed serifs, like I said, big serifs in general. Really cool though. I'm noting this just now. There's there's not a lot of stress to this. It's pretty vertical. You look at that O right there. Let me look at the lowercase real quick. Yeah, there's a little bit of stress on the lowercase, but this uppercase is very balanced, very upright. Jim Girth, Till, you two Germans, let me know about this estet right here. Jim Girth always gives us the commentary on it. I apologize, ONG Studio. I see your comment right now, and I agree. I apologize, I missed it. We were several typefaces beyond that now. I'm going to try to pay better attention to chat, guys. I thought this estet was interesting. I don't know. Someone who reads German, let me know what you think about that uppercase. It's got the full S on there, and I don't know. They're doing like an uppercase F and S combined, I guess, right? And then the lowercase is the lowercase F and S combined. But I have not seen this, but I have not been paying attention to these for very long. I'm months into paying attention to these. So Germans, I know you have been seeing these your entire life. Lowercase, once again, appropriately old style, looks nice. Good contrast on this. Once again, this is the book typeface. So anything that looks a little horsey, remember this is supposed to be about like that big. This is the body copy book typeface. This isn't really supposed to be looked at this large, but as typography enthusiasts, that's what we do. I love this non-linear progression on the R right here. That's fun. They could have easily just chopped that off, just made it a straight line. Did not do that. And you can also see the balancing out the negative space on this R, the right serif there's a little bit longer. You can see the same thing on the P and the Q. The inside serif is a little bit longer there. Love to see all the attention to detail in this one. Okay. Old style numbers appropriately for this old style typeface. This is not a deep dive, but let me check to see if we have other numbers on this real quick. Lining numbers. There they go. Yeah, looks good. So let me know if you guys want to see a deep dive on this one. I'm going to show you these in the different proportions. So this is the Roman in all three different proportions. You can see, I was surprised by this actually. I was surprised. Typically when you see a monospace font, the monospace gets wider than the proportional font. And then in this case, the mono is getting tighter for the letters and stuff. But then as you get a little bit further and you add the numbers to it, then it gets wider. Actually, it looks like uppercase is tighter, lowercase is wider. So let me show you real quick. I don't know what color I've got on my pen tool, so we'll find out. Oh, no color. Let's get tabbed out of this. Let's raise this up some. You can see the Z right here. The lowercase gets wider in the monospace, whereas the uppercase gets tighter in monospace. So a little give and take there. Interesting. But yeah, so you can see what's going on here. I am so glad that they did the poly on here because I kind of like the vibe of the monospace. But look at these gaps. I didn't even bother putting this in body copy. We can look at it in body copy, but I do not think that I would enjoy those big gaps. Whereas poly, the semi-mono here, it's giving that vibe without all the ugly space. So I kind of like that. Let's look at the italic real quick, and then we'll look at this in body copy, which it does look beautiful in body copy. You probably already know that from the specimen. But these are true italics on here. We'll go through the uppercase quick because uppercase is always just, very, very similar. You got a little bit of a leg on the K there, same as the R. Same estet there. Oh, we got a nice old style ampersand here, like that. I like when there's a separate italic ampersand. You know, the Roman's always pretty formal. The italic gets nice and it's got a lot of flair to it, some flourish, as it should with the italic here. Sometimes, you know, it's just nice to combine the Roman with an italic ampersand. You know, I'm sure you've seen that done 100 times with Baskerville. You put it in Roman for the logo, and then you throw an italic ampersand in between it. Nice italic S set here with it going below the baseline, similar to the lowercase f. Boom, boom. Yeah, this all looks good. Probably nothing that you haven't seen before in terms of like an old style typeface, but I think it's doing a really good job. And I think that the big difference here is that they're doing the monospace in an old style, which, I mean, would that have ever happened? That would have never happened, right? They didn't have typewriters, so why would they ever do a monospace font like this? But you can see the italics doing the same thing here that we saw from the proportional, or from the Roman. Let me show you this in body copy because I think this is really where you're going to get sold on it. Number one, we've got small caps on this. This actually has quite a few open type features on it. But this right here is the semi-mono, what are they calling it? Poly. This is the semi-mono. And I think the texture on this, it looks great. This feels like something from an old book where it's like a little bit too spaced out compared, you know, for modern proportions. It's a little bit too spaced out, but it looks good. I don't know. It's fun. Let me change this all to the monospace and you can see the difference. Let me unselect that black square. Let me change this all to monospace and you can see how this would look without that semi-mono. And there it is right there. You know, it's got the classic typewriter vibe to it, but it's kind of distracting. That's a lot of ugly negative space if that's what you want. If you want to be like authentic to like a real monospace font, that looks great. But let me just let me try to sell you on this real quick. Let's do an undo. Boom. That's the semi-mono. That's not the proportional one. Proportional is going to look even better, obviously. But I think that semi-mono looks pretty interesting. So I used to be not necessarily a hater, but I would really, really question why they existed. And obviously proportional is going to look beautiful. Proportional looks the best. And it looks the most normal. You know, this is what we expect from a book today. But if you wanted that kind of in-between vibe, if I can get my undo to work here, what is going on? I don't know why it's going down to that page. There it is right there. So boom, boom. Wait, was that the full mono? No, that's poly. Okay, so that's poly right there. That's proportional. Proportional, I mean, after you see that, poly looks pretty bad too. But I think if you were trying to get that monospace vibe, you want it to feel a little bit proportional, I think it's a nice touch. Did I have any comments on the license? Yes, I was saying something about the basic license, right? Nice basic license on this one. So that's Shandy. Let's go look at the license on this one because a font can look as great as it wants to. But if the license sucks, then why would you buy it? Lucky for you, this one does not. You can see some of the open type features right here. Some ligatures, things like that. The typical stuff that you expect from a book typeface. That's interesting, the asterisk right there, because that would be for more like coding. It doesn't look like the asterisk actually gets any bigger, just moved places. That's fine though. Where is the buy button? Like I said, this does have a full trial on it, so that's what I was looking at today. You can get it right here just by clicking trial instead. But I thought that this license here was interesting because they're doing basic, extended, social, and student. So if you only want to use this on social media, let's see how much basic is. Basic gets you print, web, social, and subcontractors can use this. So if you own a brand and then you want to have a graphic designer use this to design you something for your brand, you could buy this font and then you could send it to them to use specifically for your work. They can't use it for anything else, obviously. But you don't have to worry about paying extra to send it to a third party. You can just do it, which is great because that just makes logical sense. So you get it for all four of those things. And so that's why you're looking at 384 euros for that package, because you're getting all four of those different use cases. If you want extended is going to include, it's going to take your price up to, do we have to select one? What's going on here? We have to select each one individually. That's unfortunate. There's no button to select all of them, I don't think. If you want to do the extended license, that's going to be 960 euros, but that one's going to get you basically everything. Print, web, social, app, EPUB, logo, broadcasting, streaming, merchandise, hardware embedding, and subcontractors. So I don't love that they're cutting out the logo and the broadcasting because that probably means YouTube, but I'm not sure. I think I did reach out to them. I didn't get a comment though, whether social media includes YouTube and Twitch, or if that goes under broadcasting, because if it goes under broadcasting, that significantly raised the prices for most normal people. But yeah, I think if you're using it for all that stuff, I don't know. I mean, 960 is still not the end of the world for a brand that's, going to be using it for so many different things. Social though, if you only wanted social and you wanted all of these, this is the other thing about this one. I don't know that you need all these. Maybe you only want the proportional. Maybe you only want the monospace. You can significantly cut down the price of this one if you don't need every single style, which I don't think you probably do, since it's not variable, right? No, these are static. It's not variable, so there's not necessarily a big reason. If you're a student, though, you can get all 4 of these for $96, so great there. But the best part about this license right here is the trial license. You can get the full trial to test this out and really decide if that price is worth it to you or not. So I think it's a pretty interesting one. You can see a bunch of alternates right here. I think it's an interesting one to check out, but I have not done a deep dive on it. These are obviously my first impressions, but hopefully I gave you guys a good idea of what's going on. This was Shandy from the Pyte Foundry. We got 3 more new releases here. Gonna get another drink of water. And what are we on now? 6. Our 6th new release today is coming from Dalton Maag, and this is Namioto. Namioto. Let's go ahead and read the description here. Namioto is a hypnotic display font where papercraft meets wood type. Defined by its heavy weight and intricate geometric cuts, it creates a pulsating rhythm, ideal for packaging and posters. Okay. I feel like this is like woodcut, but on acid. I don't know, that's how they want it described, but it's really fun. It's simple, what you see is what you get. It's not simple in its design, but it's simple in its concept. Single weight on this, extra bold. It's got some features they're showing off here for you, but these are not necessarily OpenType features. These are just features of the font itself. Let's go ahead and look at this in Affinity, and I can show it to you in all of its glory. Let's give you some details real quick. Dalton Maag, this one's designed by Angel Kwong, 1 style on it, static, 556 glyphs, which I think is significant for a typeface, a display typeface like this. 15 OpenType features. You can get this from the Foundry, and right now, this is already on Adobe Fonts. Full trial on this one, so you can test this out if you don't have Adobe Fonts. Test it out for free. $42 for the desktop license, which they label as install and use. Standard license on these. Let me see if Adobe Fonts loaded. I always let it load in the background. There it is. You can see on Adobe Fonts right now. Add it to your family or add the family, and you can use this right now for no extra charge with your Adobe Fonts subscription. Not a plug, just it's good value. So this is it. Let's do an A to Z on it. There's no weights or anything to show you. This is the big heavy weight that you're going to get no matter what. And here it is, nice and wavy. I would be interested to know what wood type they were pulling this inspiration from, because I do feel like it would be interesting to compare them. And also it would be interesting to have something to pair this with. I mean, obviously you could just pick any, sort of Clarendon that has a little bit of readability to it. But it would be nice to know what was being referenced here. I guess I should have asked that as the journalist reporting to you, but but I apologize. I did not. I didn't think about it until today when I was looking at this right before we were getting ready to hop on. You can see it's very, the negative space here is going to be pretty uniform because these waves and stuff are pretty uniform, but I think it creates some interesting negative space. Obviously, it's something you'd have to pay attention to, but it looks pretty fun. I think it's one of those things that's going to create some interesting textures. I think it's going to obviously work best for stuff like this, like a big headline. Let's see how objectives looks. Not terrible. Let's see how it looks in all caps. Objectives. Yeah, it's fun. I could see using this for some headlines or editorial stuff like that. Let's get the real name on there. Namioto. I apologize. We're getting some legibility issues here. Namioto. One of the fun things about this, though, which I'm not going to be able to show you case for you in all of its glory, is that this has borders built into it. Angie Studio says, maybe a Tuscan wood type. Yeah, maybe. I should have asked. I apologize, guys. Maybe a Tuscan wood type. But you can see these borders right here can kind of all connect together. If you type them out, like it's an old style, it's an old school, you know, like I've got these set to I've got these set to justified, so I don't want to mess it up. But you could see, you could just, you know, use this for the bottom, repeat this one a bunch of times for the bottom border, repeat this one a bunch of times for the left border or the right. You know, you could do the circles on the inside or the outside, I guess. But there's a few different border options added to this one, as well as some icons and stuff. They even got the corner pieces for you. I think that's kind of fun. Is it the most useful in 2026? Probably not, but is it cool to have? And does it add like a little bit something extra? Yeah, I think so. And you can see how they're doing some of the ornamentation here, how they're lining this up. Oh, these are selectable text. Nice. Yeah, I think I always think anytime somebody goes through the trouble of designing and adding borders to the font, it makes me smile a little bit. Let's see if there are any open type features on this one. No, there's no alternates. The one thing you can do with this for alternates is going to be, nope, proportion. Oh, you can get tabular numbers out of it. So you can get tabular numbers, but I don't have this spaced well enough for that because I had those. I don't know how many tabular numbers you're going to be doing with this, but if you want to, it's got it. It does have some ligatures and stuff too. It's got like the FFI and where's our F at? It's got the FFI, FFJ, maybe not the FFJ, but it's got FFI right there. So it's got some ligatures. That's kind of fun at least. But this is a display typeface. I'm not expecting it to have workhorse features. But this is similar to what we were looking at with, gosh, which one was it? I can't remember now. A few different display fonts we looked at where I said, like, you know, in concept, there are some characters that might be easier than others, but then you get to your estet, so you get to your at symbol, or you get to your punctuation. You got to have a strong concept that can move across all of these, that can be implemented across all of these. Look what they did with the 4 there. That's interesting. So they didn't bump it out on both sides. They only worked with the counter. That's pretty cool. So there's some, you know, you have to come up with some unique ways to solve some of these problems. But I think overall, this all really works well together. And the borders are a fun addition. So for $42, you can install and use this one. Install and use is what they call their desktop license. I could show you real quick, I guess. So they've got install and use. That's their desktop license. They've got host and link. That's their web license, and they've got embed and distribute. So that's going to be like their ebooks, games, apps, and stuff like that. Or you can do unlimited perpetual and just do all of it at once. But for install and use, boom, $42. Not bad, not bad. That was Namioto from Dalton Maag. 2 more new releases, and when I said we had some big ones here, there are some big ones. Let me see where I want to even start on this one. Let's start out with Dalton or Darden Studio here. Can I get another drink of water? This might seem familiar. This 7th new release is Daith. It's coming from Darden Studio. I had an advanced release of Daith way back in episode number 50. So 18 episodes ago, I had an advanced release of this. I showed it off. I was planning to do a deep dive, but after I did some testing, it was not ready, and I was kind of disappointed. I am happy to say that is not representative of the final font by any stretch of the imagination. This typeface is so deep. This, I don't even know where to begin, like, with this one. When you think of like a workhorse typeface, a typeface you can do everything with, moving beyond, like, when I think of a workhorse, I typically think of like body copy and stuff. This one has 5 different optical sizes: small, caption, text, display, and big. And this one has 8 different weights plus italics. So if we add those up, we're getting 80 total styles. 80 total styles on this one. It's got a price tag to match. I'll go ahead and spoil it for you. $1,780 if you want the full family on desktop. But man, for the right person, for the right company, for the right brand, you could pick one typeface and never think again. You could use this for the next 20 years and just not think. assuming the format still worked for you 20 years from now. I don't know that TTF, OTF is still going to be the standard, so maybe not that. But I'm just going to scroll through this one more time, give you a vibe check on it. I don't even know that it's necessarily worth going into all the history and stuff with this one. You can go and read that. We talked about it before in episode 50, but Joshua Darden had started this one. He originally founded Darden Studio. He hadn't released a typeface since 2017. The team over at Darden Studio took this over and finished the typeface, and man, they really did a great job with it. These are my first impressions, obviously. This is not a deep dive. If you want one, let me know. The craziest part about this is that there's a variable font that can do all of these, but I'm going to have a little bit of a downer about that in a second. Let me show you though. Small, caption, text, display, big, and then it goes from thin all the way up to black. So you get an 80 total styles on this. Like I said, 8 weights, 5 optical sizes, plus italics. I'll go ahead and spoil it here. I've got a standard minus. I started adding pluses and minus. Standard minus license on this one. Standard minus, I mean, it does have like desktop, web, and app, but the web and app are annual renewals, so boo. But if you don't mind that, you don't mind that. Great news though is that Daith, like Dalton Maag's release, Daith from Darden Studio is already available on Adobe fonts. So for $5 a month, you could go get Daith on Adobe fonts instead of $1,780 for the full family on desktop. That's not including the annual renewals for web and stuff like that. So there's no guarantee that Daith is always going to be on Adobe fonts. But if you're choosing between an annual subscription of like $60 for InCopy to get Adobe fonts, please just go choose that instead of paying. I mean, obviously, if you want to give Darden Studio some money, don't let me stop you. But if you want to put this on a website per year, that would cost you. Let's get the whole family. Boom. Whole family on a desktop on the internet for a year would cost you $1,425 per year, as opposed to $60 per year if you did it through Adobe fonts. So, people have their feeling about Adobe. People have their feelings about these big brands, but it's undeniable that until something changes, this is the greatest value in type right now. Especially when you get a new release like Daith, this absolute behemoth of a typeface. It's already included in your Adobe subscription. I only pay for Adobe fonts. I use Affinity. You guys see me use it every day, but I pay for Adobe fonts because it's just such a great value, especially when it includes new releases like this. So let's move on to typeface. I'm done. I'm not shilling because I'm not getting paid. But let's move on. Darden Studio. I didn't put my designers on here. I apologize, guys. It was started by Joshua Darden. It was finished by the team over at Darden Studio. I apologize to the designers. It's listed on the website. 80 total styles, like I said. Variable with a star there. The star is there because you can't technically get variable right now. I talked to Joyce Ketterer, the owner of Darden Studio, and she said that the variable font has a virulent. It has a mastering bug, so there's no way to get the variable font from Darden Studio or Adobe fonts right now. You can only get static. So while this is advertised as being variable, it's not currently variable. I did reach out for a review license on this. That's when we had the conversation about the variable fonts. They did not give me one, but I do have Adobe fonts, so I can still show it off to you. But unfortunately, with Adobe fonts, other than breaking the EULA and downloading the fonts, throwing them in a Welcome My Fondue, which you can do, but you shouldn't do, I can't tell you the glyph count or the OpenType features, but you can get this from the Foundry or Adobe fonts. There's no trial on it, but Adobe fonts. Price on this one, like we said, is $1,780 for the family on desktop and a standard minus license because it does have those annual renewals. And I think a standard license doesn't have annual renewals. I think that they're perpetual. So that's my subjective opinion on the license, but objectively, that's what it is. Goodness, this is a tough one to show, so I'm probably gonna show you just the regular right now. That's actually italic. I apologize. I'm gonna show you Man, I'm really hoping this didn't all get messed up. It did. Okay, shout out to Adobe Fonts for messing up everything. Gosh dang it. Should I give this a shot? I'm going to close it and reopen it. We're going to give it a shot. If it fixes, it fixes. What happened was I opened Affinity before I opened Creative Cloud, so that's why my fonts weren't synced. When they synced, it set them all to display text italic or something like that, display italic. With Adobe Fonts open first, it should work fine. Did it though? Yes, it did. Perfect. You don't have this problem with font-based, guys. Okay, so I'm going to give you an A to Z on the text one, but then I'm going to show you just real quick, like the big display caption and stuff like that. But I feel like text is in the middle, so I'll show you this one. You can see nice, sturdy, rounded serifs on there. It looks clean. I don't know that text is the best one, but it's the one in the middle, so it's the one I'm going to show you. And then I'll give you a preview of the other ones. But I think the interesting things about this are the optical sizes, the weights, the fact that it already has the italics, like a workhorse font should. It's just got a lot going on for it. It's nothing crazy exciting. I'm not gonna lie to you and try to pretend like this is like some mind-blowing font. I think what this is a really, really great workhorse font. That's a new release, so it's not going to be, you know, completely saturated in the market. Everyone else hasn't already used this one. And you can go from that text all the way up to this super contrasty, and they call the biggest one big. I think the biggest one is big, and then they're doing display below that. This is super high contrast, and this is big regular. Let me show you like big on like big black. Can we get that? Big black. Yeah, now we're really in Didone territory, Bedoni, Didone, you know, Bedoni, Didone. Super high contrast. And when they get the variable font, all of these are going to be built into the entire variable font. This is small. Small is even smaller than caption, apparently. This is small, and you can see what's happening here. We're thinning out the contrast, lowering the contrast, so thicker thins and bigger serifs and less contrast overall. Similarly, we are increasing the spacing on it. So you can see from big up to the top. Look at that uppercase Z. You can see from big up to from biggest optical size to smallest optical size. We're increasing the spacing on these. Interestingly, though, the small one down here doesn't get bigger. I'm not sure, maybe just because the characters are so small, they need to have smaller spacing. I'm not sure. That's interesting. I didn't note that before, but you can see going from big display text to caption, they do get bigger. I'm wondering, did I mess something up? I don't think so. No. Yeah, it just doesn't get bigger, I guess. Interesting. But yeah, it's not just that the contrast gets higher. When it gets bigger, it's going to make it tighter for you too by default. So you don't have to worry about your tracking and kerning and stuff like that. Should look good out of the box. And then display is going to be, you know, more contrast than text, but less contrast than high. And that's just how it goes. You guys know how optical sizes work by now, right? We've got true italics on this one. I'll just give you like the uppercase and lowercase at the same time. Love that lowercase f. Big flowing terminals on that one. Nice Q on there. Let's see if this has some alternates. Stylistic sets are a little messy. They're not labeled or anything, so I'm not going to bother clicking on them. That was one of the issues that I had with the advanced release as well. Looks like they didn't polish that part of it. They finished all the weights and stuff. Same thing here with the italics. You know, you're going to get super high contrast on these. This is the text weight, or not the text weight. This is the regular weight as well. Regular, big. It's not even the biggest, highest contrast. All the way down to the small one where you're getting much lower contrast. That feels nice and cozy. I really like that one. And then text, you know, it's going to sit somewhere in between, like we just saw. So I did not set this in body copy for some reason, unbeknownst to me. I apologize. We could do it real quick, but we don't, it's fine. It's fine. We'll move on. Just assume this is going to look good in body type copy. We can see a little bit of it probably on the web page. Yeah, you can see a little bit of it there. It's kind of big, but there it is. This was Daith from Darden Studio. And you can get it from the website, or you can get it on Adobe Fonts right now. So no trials, but you can get it from Adobe Fonts, test it out there. You can also just test it out on the website. All these right here, you can delete and test. I know they look awesome. It looks like you shouldn't be able to, but you can. And I'm a fan of that. You can even delete all this and swap that out if you want. So you can really test this out quite a bit on the website, but no official trials on this one. Next up, oh man, every time I get to the next one, I'm like, oh man. But really, this is a great one to finish on here. Daryl said, before we move on, Daryl said the kerning between the B and C is a little excessive. I apologize, Daryl. I didn't see it before, so I'm not sure what we were talking about. But if you said that it was, I have no doubt that it was. I apologize that I wasn't paying attention, Daryl. Our last new release here is coming from Lettermatic, and it is Juncture. Juncture, as they're calling it here, is an industrial superfamily. Let me see where I want to start on this. I have some notes, and I said that I wanted to scroll and vibe. Okay, let's go ahead and scroll and vibe. You can see here, there are 4 distinct styles on this. It's variable weights, variable widths. They're saying language support, but they don't say how much. But you can see this is one typeface family, Juncture, but it's got 4 sort of distinct flavors to it. Deli, Rebar, Astro, and Deco. And this is a really cool mini site. They call it mini sites. It's a web page, but it's really cool. There's a lot you can do in here. So this is going to show you everything at once, but you can click in and kind of zoom in and out of these and see the different styles. So that one's Rebar, this one's Astro, this one's Deli. And you can see what they're doing. They're kind of basing these off the use cases, but it's all built on kind of like the same foundation. And we can scroll through these. So yeah, Deli takes cues from food counters and stuff like that. Rebar, auto shops, factories. Juncture says futuristic. Oh no, I apologize. Juncture Astro, futuristic sci-fi. Deco, obviously we're talking Art Deco. So that's what it is. I think this mini site is really cool. It's linked in the description. Go ahead and check this out when you have time. You can actually click on all these different things and it'll zoom in and show you different uses of it. I think they did a really cool job. Even the numbers on here are Lettermatic's Juncture. So I'm really a fan of this mini site. Even if you don't like the font, go ahead and check this web page out because it's really, really impressive. You can zoom in on the screens. You can zoom in on zoom in on the ticket. They're even using it to print out the tickets and stuff. It's crazy. It's crazy. It's crazy. We could spend all day just on this part right here, but let's go ahead and get over to Affinity and I can show you this in real time. So like I said, there are 4 different styles. There's Astro, Deco, Deli, and Rebar. And I said styles, but I mean subfamilies. Technically, there are 128 styles on this one, which is insane. It's because there are 8 weights, 4 widths, and then which adds up to 32 styles per subfamily. Multiply that by 4 and you're getting 128. This is Lettermatic, like we said, designed by Lauren Dickens and Jane Solomon. And there were some helpers, but those were the 2 main typeface designers. Variable, which is really cool. Depending on which family you're in, you're going to get more or less characters or more or less glyphs. So the lowest you're going to be sitting at is 573. The most is 777. 18 or 19 OpenType features, depending. You can purchase this from the Foundry. And this is, once again, a full trial. And do you see this right here? So you can download this right now, test it out. No problem with that. $99 for the family. When I say family, I mean 128 styles family. This is a great font. This is a great price. And it's a great license. I'll go ahead and show you the license now. I don't want to wait. I'm going to go ahead and show you the license right now. Let me see. Where do we click the button to buy this? So there are some different prices depending on how many people are obviously in your how many people are in your thing. But there's student, freelancer, trial. You do trial, you can get the full trial, like I just said. Freelancer is going to be for one person. If the company has 2 employees or more, you're going to have to go up in price. But freelancer is $99, and that's it. You buy the the $99 and you use it everywhere. You can see branding, packaging, magazine, posters, ebooks, websites, apps, games, motion graphics, blah, 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 blah. If I click on license, it says no nonsense licensing. Font licensing often seems complicated. We made it better. Let's look at it real quick. They had a line on here, but yeah, you can use it for everything. You're seeing all these things. These are not all different licenses. You don't need a different one for an ebook. You don't need this, that, this, that. They spell it out really easy what you're allowed to do with it. And as long as you're the one using it, you don't have to think about it. You can make your logo. You can use an ebook. You can use it on your website. $99. Love to see it. Let's go ahead and look at it and see if that's something that you're interested in. This is all uppercase, so it's an all uppercase. It's a display typeface. I'm going to show you the weights and the widths on Astro right here, and then I'll show you all 4 of them and see how they compare. This is a tough one to show on just like a new release announcement. This is more of a deep dive, one to look at with a deep dive, but they're really far over here on the left. And I know this looks ugly right now, but there's a reason behind this madness. And it's because this variable slider lets me do the width super wide and super heavy. And if I don't have it this big, I can't keep it on the screen. So you can get a pretty big range out of these. That's the width and the weight. That's pretty significant in my opinion. And that's all in one font. Obviously, you're gonna have 4 different variables for these. You're gonna have a variable for each one of the subfamilies, but still, you're getting 32 styles in each one of these fonts, plus everything in between. I'm not gonna show you the A to Z right here because I'm gonna show it to you on when we look at all 4 of them together. But all of these are gonna do the same thing where you can kind of stretch them out. You can change the weight, you can change the width. Every single one's gonna be the same. So I'm not gonna linger too long on each one of these because we're gonna look at all 4 of them right here. I apologize. I really struggled with trying to figure out the best way to showcase these. So hopefully this does it justice. And if not, I'll try harder next time. But if you want to see a deep dive on this, I could probably find a better way to display all of these. I think the mini site, you saw the mini site, it goes crazy. Everything on there lets you just zoom in and out and see all of these in so much detail. But if we're wanting to look at these as little sets right here, I can kind of show you how they differ. So this is Astro up top. I've got them in alphabetical order: Astro, Deco, Deli, and Rebar. Astro is the one that's supposed to be futuristic. Probably get really big on this one. Astro is the one that's supposed to be super futuristic. This is in the compressed regular. So this is pretty thin, pretty compressed. It's the regular weight on this one. Obviously, you could make it really bold like we saw before, but you see what's going on. You kind of get like your NASA worm type thing going on. Your Star Wars, your Star Trek, those types of things. Deco, I have this. The reason I wanted to show you this to you in the compressed version, as opposed to only showing it to you in this, I'm going to show you Deco right now. This is Deco at a heavy, wide weight, and you can see the O's. They're circular, but they don't really stand out that much, right? Maybe the C and the S over here seem significant. But when you're at different widths, different letters are going to stand out. So you can see the O and the Q here feel significantly different at the more compressed widths because they keep their more geometric shape to them. So I think that's pretty fun, and I think it's a little bit hidden. If you were to only look at like the regular width and the regular weight, you wouldn't realize how certain glyphs or certain characters, certain glyphs look differently at different widths. So I think that's pretty interesting, a little hidden feature. There are some overlap between these. So like if we were to look at, I don't know, like the U, let me go ahead and make a duplicate of this real quick. If we were to look at like the U on here, the U is probably going to feel pretty similar, if not absolutely identical on every single one of these because, what can you do with the U? But if we look at the T on here, let me go ahead and put this at 50%. The T on this one, on Deli compared to Deco, Deco's got like some different terminals on the T. So there's some subtle differences and then there's some exact overlaps, but that's because we're building on the same foundation for these. This one here, so we're on Deli. Deli has like some unicase going on. Look at the N right there. Do we do it with the E? No, not with the E. Maybe we're only looking at the N. So we're getting a single unicase character, but still, I like to see it. Does it have an alternate for it? This does have a lot of alternates and stuff. Wow. It's got alternate ampersands. And let me know if you guys want to see a deep dive. I'd be interested to see how these differ, because I know some of them had, what do we say, 500 and some glyphs to it, but others had, yeah, some of they vary from 573 up to 777. So some of these probably have some more stylistic sets and alternates and stuff like that than others. And then we've got rebar. This is the one that's like auto machines, factories, and it feels very mechanical. You look at the A, that feels, like you could imagine bending a pipe and it would be shaped like this. So it's pretty cool the way that they've used one foundation but managed to get all of these different feelings out of it, all these different vibes. I don't, I hesitate to say like get a font and then be able to use it with multiple brands, but like this is kind of one of those fonts where you could use it as put it in your toolkit, kind of like, I mean, buy it when you need it, don't buy it when you don't need it, but like buy this for a project you need it for, and then you'd be able to use this in a bunch of different use cases. I really, really, really am confident in saying that, especially when we think about all the widths and the weights and stuff like that. So I'll show you these just a little bit quicker, but there are some characteristics. Like if you look at this P right here, it feels a little bit different in the Astro, the futuristic one, compared to up here, because that heavy weight, I don't know, it just does something different to it. So there are a lot of, how would you say this? There are a lot of nuances to it. And with the alternates and the widths and everything, I think you should go check this one out. Like I said, this one has a full trial on it. You can see subscribe. Hey, subliminal messaging. You can see subscribe written in all 4 different fonts. And I feel like this really does showcase to you how even just a simple word like this, without, being like a full panagram or something, shows you 4 different vibes pretty easily, and also shows the similarity between the families. So I don't know. I'm really impressed with this one. I think it's a great font, and I think they did a great job showcasing it at this mini site. Great license, hard to argue with, like pay one price and use it for everything. Great price. Freelancer, can you get that? One person shop business could get this for $99. Obviously, what I was saying with the clients earlier, I guess each client would need to pay for it, so don't listen to that. But in terms of you having the font in stock and able to like use it and stuff like that, yeah, I think you could use this for a lot of use cases just for one business by itself. I don't know. I'm really impressed with this one. I'm excited that I get to report on this. I'm excited that this is the state of typography right now. There's cool fonts like this being released from Lettermatic. So yeah, this was Juncture from Lettermatic. I have, I'm going to get a drink of water, and I just have a few stories to send you off with. These ones are going to be quick, not going to be big, but I think they might be something you want to check out. Okay. Trying to get one big drink of water before we go. Let me put my face back on. There I am. Hello, hello. And I will switch to some stories. I've got 4 articles here for you. Just gonna pull them up, point out what it is, and move on. And close some tabs. Boom, 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 boom. Got a lot of tabs open. I try to leave them open a little bit in case you guys comment. I was really bad at checking chat today. I apologize. So this is, I apologize, Avani. I don't know if I'm saying your name right. Avani. I don't know if the H is, I'm not going to butcher the name. I'm not going to butcher her name. I'm just going to let you see. This is her newsletter, and it is called The Archive of Living Type. And she recently posted, did I send the right? No, okay. So this is the right link right here. I will relink this. I linked to her full Substack. It's not paid. You can pay if you want to support. But this is, I think maybe her second newsletter, and it is typography resources. You're probably going to be familiar with a lot of these, but I always like these lists. I like to look through them and see if there's anything that I wasn't previously familiar with. You're going to see some books on here, that even ones that I've reviewed on the channel: Designing Type, Thinking with Type, Elements of Typographic Style. You're going to see a bunch of books on here that you'll probably recognize. But there are some websites and things like that, fonts in use. There's a bunch of resources. There are some tools on here to use, and then there's some learning resources. So there's a lot of good stuff on here, and I think it's nice to see these, even some networking. I think it's nice to see these types of lists from time to time, just as reminders, because maybe you're familiar with all the books and all the resources and stuff already, but maybe you need a reminder. Maybe you'll see a book and you're like, oh yeah, I've been meaning to read that, or oh, I want to read that again. So there's that list coming from the Archive of Living Type. And I will replace the link that's there, but the link that's there will get you there if you click on the first story that's on there. Next up are a couple of recent lists from the Type Network. I'm just going to tile these side by side. They've got 7 workhorse sans serifs, and then this other one over here is 7. Wait, did I open the same one twice? And this one here is 6 slab serifs with real backbone. So 6 slab serifs, 7 workhorse sans serifs. Again, just a couple of solid lists. Obviously, they're selling their own book here. They're trying to sell fonts that are on Type Network. But I do think it's kind of an interesting. It's interesting to see lists like this when they're high quality lists, because you can look through and see some sans serifs that maybe you used to be familiar with, but you forgot about, or maybe you get introduced to some new ones. I know there's definitely some new ones on here for me. So I thought maybe there would be some new ones on here for you, or maybe some refreshers and reminders. I don't know. You never know when it might be just the perfect timing to see that perfect font. It seems to come when it needs to. So maybe one of those will be that. Third article here is going to be from Pixel Ambrocht, also known as Rule Niescans. Hopefully I'm saying your name right. I do believe that I am. I practice based on your website. But this is Pixel Ambrocht put out an article. What do you get when you put every character that exists into on a single page? Onto a single page. Daryl, I see you. I apologize. I missed another chat. But this article here is crazy. Pixel Ambrocht, Rule, always doing crazy stuff. Literally put 1,114,000 Unicode characters into a single HTML page, and it was massive. It was 28 megabyte HTML file. That's just HTML. Just a funny, crazy experiment that he ran. And, if you're into that kind of craziness, to see what happens when you do that, what sorts of fonts show up, because you're going to have a lot of fallback typefaces. What fallback typefaces show up. And you can see here, Times was actually the number 1. Not Times New Roman, Times. Let me zoom in a little bit more here. Times. And I thought that was interesting. 1 million times showed up as the font that showed up when you don't declare an actual font. So that's pretty interesting. You'll note there are a lot of them on here, but it's funny to think about these. A lot of Noto sans on there. But yeah, it's interesting to see people do these crazy experiments, and Pixel Ambrocht, of all people, is the one to do it. He did do an about web page. Let me see if I can find it real quick. He did an about. If you don't know about him, he recently posted this. He has seemingly had his hand in everything from everywhere. Font Awesome, Google Fonts, Typo Tech, I think that's how you're supposed to say that one. The Type Founders, Non-Letter, and my favorite font, my favorite website is Wacom Fondue. I use this every single font. When I give you those numbers, all the details, I'm getting them from Wacom Fondue. I drop my fonts in there, and it tells me what my font can do. So I love that, and I appreciate Rule, and I appreciate these crazy experiments that he's running. And I don't know, just a fun one to go check out. Last article here, this one's coming from the Type Founders, and it's more of a reminder that this exists, but they did put out some new articles. This one right here I thought was particularly interesting, but it's the World of Type. I mentioned that they were going to start publishing World of Type articles on here. Sam Berlow, the principal founder of the Type Founders, wrote the opening article for this, but I think he wrote this one too. Yeah, he wrote this article here. The 5 pivotal moments that built digital type as a cottage industry. I'm not sure what the definition of cottage industry is, but I thought it was interesting. It's a quick read. Fontographer, Font Shop, My Fonts, Typekit, and Google Fonts. Go read those, and you can see Sam Berlow's opinion piece here on the 5 pivotal moments that built digital type as a cottage industry. But I think just in general, World of Type from the Type founders is interesting to pay attention to. I critiqued this last time. I'm going to do it again. I apologize, Type founders, but this right here looks great. It's all centered. When I'm reading my page, my eyes are looking in the center of the website, and I have to look over there if I want to read everything that's over there. So when I'm on a web page like this, I'm going to go ahead and go into reader mode, because then it puts it all in the middle. So if you want some constructive feedback, great articles, I appreciate these coming out. But if we're going to read something, put it in the middle of the web page, please. Last thing here, and this kind of feeds into updates that are coming for Jective's channel as well, is FontProofer. I talked about FontProofer recently. There is Peter right there. I talked about FontProofer recently on the channel, and if you're a channel member, you already have seen this conversation. But I talked about FontProofer recently on the channel, and I mistakenly said that it had like recently released. It actually released several years ago, 3 years ago, I believe. And he was working on it for 3 years before that. It just oddly timed out that like the 3-year thing was like exactly the same. And so when I was looking at references, I was like, oh yeah, that's 3 years ago. Sorry, I got distracted by chat. Anyway, it ended up to like a conversation that I had with Peter. I am going to have a conversation video posted on the channel this coming week, so look forward to that. I'll remind you next week. But what we're talking about today is the FontProofer YouTube page channel, which just recently launched. You can see only 10 subscribers. One of those is me. I don't subscribe to anyone with my Jectives channel. I apologize, FontProofer, not even for you. But I look at everything on my personal page, and I pay for YouTube Premium over there. So that's just where I subscribe to stuff. But he posted what's new in FontProofer 1.8. When I talked about FontProofer, I was critical of the not having a perpetual license. Perpetual license has been introduced. This is a 10-minute, 11-minute video talking about what's new in FontProofer. It gives you an introduction. He also uploaded a bunch of getting started videos. So I think that's pretty cool, teaching how to use the software itself. I talked about the documentation before, but look forward to a conversation between me and Peter about font proofing and FontProofer, a little bit of about FontProofer, mostly about font proofing. That's going to be coming out this week. Let me get a drink. And then I'm going to switch to the big face. So check out FontProofer, the YouTube channel, if you want to check out what FontProofer is. It's there. He also has a really good A-type iChat presentation that I'm going to link in the conversations video when I post that. But I have a lot of cool stuff coming up. And I have a conversation with Peter, like I just talked about, that we recorded, gosh, almost 2 weeks ago, but I haven't got it published yet. That's going to be getting published this week. We talked for like an hour and a half about like font proofing. It was fun. It was my first one. It's a little rough. I apologize, but I think it's a good conversation. I had a conversation on Friday with Mark Johnson of oh my goodness, of Type LOL and Trash Type. And it was really fun. Every time I talk to him, I get off the call and I go tell my wife, I'm like, man, I love talking to that guy. Like, it was really a fun conversation. Just talking type in general, talking about AI and typography, talking about Type LOL, which if you don't know, go check that out. I didn't link this because I wasn't planning to talk about it, but I had those two conversations already. Those will be getting published in the next 2 weeks, one after each other for each respective week. Tuesday, I have a conversation with the designer of Mona Lisa, which is Marcus Sturs. And then, why are you so passionate about fonts? I guess I can tell you in a second. Tuesday, I have a conversation with the designer of Mona Lisa because I'm going to be doing like a big deep dive on Mona Lisa coming up. I've been testing that out. I tested that out on the members section too, I think. And then the big one, for me anyway, the big one, Wednesday, I have a conversation that I'm going to be recording and publishing with Mark Simonson. no, I don't know. Is there any introduction needed for Mark Simonson? He's been in the game forever, created some of the greatest fonts, in modern times, and I'm really excited to talk to him. Shout out to Tiffany Wardle for putting me in contact with him. She's my contact at the Type Founders, always hooks me up with a review license, and she put me into contact, asked me if there's anybody that I want to talk to that is represented by the Type Founders. That was the first name that came to mind, and it's going to happen. So I'm excited. Lots of cool conversations, lots of deep dives coming up. And Pixel Dude 123 said, "Why are you so passionate about fonts?" I don't know. I think this is going to sound dumb. Two things. One, I'll just say, like, when I was a kid, I remember probably everybody used to do this, right? You'd write like your bubble letters and stuff in class. You'd write your different lettering and stuff in class. I remember sitting in like my 7th grade class being like, man, I wish that I could just do this every day. I'm not a type designer. I'm looking into programs next year, but just like, I wish I could do this every day. Just like make letters. And I don't want to paint paintings. I don't want to be an artist. I want to do this. I just want to make letters. And I was like, man, if I could just do that every day, that would be awesome. No one told me, that type designers were a thing. And then over like the last, year and a half of reporting typography news, I'm looking into courses and stuff. There's a lot of options. Some are more pricey than others, but hopefully I'll learn to do that. And then I'll be able to better report on all these typefaces. But the other thing is, I don't know, there's something really cool about fonts. This is the dumb part. If that wasn't dumb enough for you already. I think there's this really cool, like, tradition that we're kind of pushing on, where typography lets us communicate with like other generations. Like, I love going back and reading old books on archive.org. One of my favorite ones is Gothic Tracery book, and I'm reading this book that was written like 300 years ago or something, and I'm just like, man, there's no way this guy thought that like I would be sitting here reading his book 300 years from now. But like, the text is what makes that possible. And typography changes and these different things happen. And Alana Monroe has Arcane Type, and she always says that fonts are magic. I do think there's a little bit of magic to it, where it's like we have this weird way of being able to communicate with each other through like written text. You could write with your hand, but like fonts make it way easier. And just all of the different typography makes that possible in another way, where you're not just communicating objective facts, where you're communicating like these subjective opinions, and you can use a different font to like make something feel different. And I don't know. Yeah, I guess that's kind of why I should probably have thought of an answer about this before I started the channel. But those are the two things that come to mind off the top of my head. So I hope that helps. Daryl says, if flavor is the messaging. Yes. Yeah, it does. The different fonts can do that. And I don't know, I'm just excited about people that are passionate about what they're doing. And any of the type designers in chat right now can tell you, like, there are no type designers that are not passionate about what they're doing. So I know there are probably people, that seems crazy to say, but there are probably people that like watching me talk about fonts because I'm so excited about them. Even if maybe they're not excited as I am. I like to do that too. I'll watch people talk about watches and video games that I don't even play because they're so hyped about them. But there are no type designers that aren't excited about the typeface that they're designing. So it's really easy for me to get excited about typefaces that someone else is excited about. I guess that makes sense. There's some crappy typefaces. There's some bad ones. I'm not one of these people that say there are no bad typefaces. There are bad typefaces, especially stolen and copied ones and stuff like that. But or ones that have no effort put into them. Yeah, I'm excited because all the fonts that I'm reporting on, all the typeface releases I'm reporting on, all the stories and stuff, the people that make those are excited about what they're doing. So it's easy for me to be like passionate about that because they're passionate about what they're doing. So I don't know, combine those three things together and hopefully there's a suitable answer in there. Anyway, so shout out to the channel members, shout out to FontBase, shout out to everyone watching right now in chat, everyone watching the replay. I really do appreciate you guys. And if you weren't watching, I would still be passionate about fonts, but I probably wouldn't be sitting here keeping up with all the new releases and reporting them like I do. So I appreciate you guys being here. I'm going to get out of here. Have a good week, please. I will see you guys next Sunday for the next typography news. So for today, I'm looking over here so I can push the button at the right time. For today, I was Curtis Simpson. This was Typography News number 68. I'll see you guys next week. Bye.